If you're planning to get lucky this St. Patrick's Day, get prepared with Manscaped. Manscaped is the global leader in below-the-waist grooming and an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast. To ensure you have the best tools for your family jewels, visit manscaped.com and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 for 20% off and free international shipping. Manscaped is here to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 electric trimmer is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Ceramic blade, advanced skin-safe technology, waterproof capabilities, it's simply the best. And Manscaped's Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, performance boxer briefs, a travel bag, deodorant, and soothing aloe toner. If you're listening, you know good tools are key. So get the best tools for the job today. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DIGGINGDEEP20.
Welcome to the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast with your host, two-time defending ATV motocross national champion, Cody Jansen.
Am I on air? What's up, everybody? We're back. I'm your host, Cody Jansen, and welcome to a monumental episode number 49 of the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast, presented by our title sponsor, CSD Tires, available for purchase at shop.csdtires.com. The 2021 season opener from Daytona is now in the books, and it was wild. A crazy day at the races means we have a lot to talk about coming up on this episode, and we'll cover everything that happened in Daytona and then talk to the riders that were in on the action. From storylines to controversy and everything in between, we'll cover it all here. We have Gloop Mahey of RipitupFilms, Casey Greek of Impact Solutions, and Logan Tremellen of the Tremellen Media House all coming on to join the show and help break down everything that happened at the races. Then you'll hear conversations you won't want to miss with five-time Daytona ATV Supercross winner Chad Wienen, Nick Gennusa straight off the podium in his career best finish, rookie phenom Max Lindquist coming off a stellar pro class debut, and we have a special guest dropping by that you certainly won't want to miss as well. This episode is stuffed full of so much awesome content that you won't find anywhere else. I'm excited, so let's not waste any more time. Thanks to all of you who played Digging Deep ATV MX Fantasy with us at round one. Nearly 200 of you signed up to play prior to Daytona, and man, it was so much fun. Congrats to those of you who had the perfect lineup on Tuesday. That was Chad Wienen in Tier 1, Nick Gennusa in Tier 2, Max Lindquist in Tier 3. All of those riders are coming up here on the show, and Michael Allred in Tier 4. 8 of you had that perfect team, so congrats to those guys who had that. It's not too late for you to join the first ever ATV Motocross Fantasy League and have some fun with us. I think it's taken the fan experience this season to a whole new level. It's awesome. So proud of that. Digging Deep ATV MX Fantasy. You can sign up today at atvfantasy.com and lock in your picks for 3 palms. Thanks to our sponsors who are all on board with us tonight. CST Tires. Go to shop.csdtires.com. Yamaha, thanks to Blue Crew. Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Namura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Their clippers rock, their nose hair trimmers are amazing, and they have a bunch of other cool stuff as well. So check out Manscaped. I wish I would have sooner. Get 20% off with free shipping by using code DIGGINGDEEP20 at manscaped.com. Support all the great companies that support us, and for any products that fall through the cracks, click that Rocky Mountain ATV MC banner on our website to help us out. The season is right around the corner. The pros are now racing. We'll be racing before you know it. And we both know you need parts and gear. So no matter what off-road gear parts you need, Rocky Mountain ATV MC has you covered. So before you buy, click that Rocky Mountain ATV MC banner on our website to help us out. Now, the 30-second board is up. it's sideways, and the gate is down. Time to dig deep. Let's go. All right, guys. I'm sure you've heard by now. Once again, the Daytona ATV Supercross was wild, and a crazy day at the races means we have a lot to talk about here on our Daytona review pod. Joining me to cover everything that went down at the races, he's tied for 93rd in Digging Deep ATV MX Fantasy. Welcome back, Mr. Casey Greek. What's up, Casey?
Told you I'm terrible at fantasy.
To your credit, Joel going down didn't help your fantasy at all. It buried you, but just needed to throw out the 93rd. Also joining us, a man who's been slaying all of his projects recently. Say hello to Logan Tremellen of Tremellen Media House. What's up, man? Thanks for coming back.
What's up? I don't know where I am at in the fantasy Supercross. I never looked at it.
I don't think you were as far down as Casey, but I can't be sure. And lastly, you know him and love all the content that he puts out. RipitupFilms himself. Thanks for coming back, Mr. Gloop Mahey. What's up, pal?
I'm doing good, and I'm ready to get going. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so we might as well dive right in. As I mentioned, it was a wild day, but not really until the main event. I feel like early in the day, everything was pretty status quo. Obviously, we were anxious for quads to finally hit the track, and when they did, we saw Joel Hetrick right at the top of the leaderboard, like we've obviously grown so accustomed to seeing in qualifying. He took both qualifiers, and man, he looked impressive. Casey, you work closely with Joel's program there. Give us a glimpse into how well things were going for Joel at the start of the day there.
Yeah, I think he found comfort on that track fairly quick, and really no real changes throughout the day. Maybe a couple clicks. Just the speed of the track was really fast, and especially for a Supercross track. But the entry into the corners was very high paced from long rhythm sections and stuff. So, just stiffen up the front end a little bit and keep those guys' nose off the ground. And he was super comfortable. And I mean, we've seen it all day. I felt like he rode with a lot of class and just super, just never really looked like he was overriding the bike or out of shape. Solid day going, and it was nice.
Yeah. I felt from the very first lap when he was on the racetrack, it was like he was out there and had a point to prove. So I thought he looked rejuvenated. I thought he looked like kind of like he said to us, like he had a fresh breath of air, kind of like we expected. Logan and Gloop, I want you guys to weigh in here. I mean, Joel early in the day, he was on a tear. He looked phenomenal. I'm sure that's all what we all expected, but very early on, it looked like Joel Hetrick's day. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, he was on fire. He was smooth. Kind of looked like a different rider in a sense because of how smooth he was and how comfortable he was on the bike. Minimal mistakes. Just rolling out there.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Logan?
Yeah, if I noticed one thing, it was right after both qualifiers. At the rig, the energy was just super light. Everybody was happy, and I feel like just him on the bike and Jeffrey's back on the Yamaha. I feel like just the whole team vibes were very they were all upbeat and positive, and regardless of their lap times, I feel like he was in a really good place.
Yeah, I feel like it's like he's got a new toy to play with. So it's awesome. Joel took this top spot in the qualifiers. They're heading into the heat races. Bryce Ford, Chad Wienen, Nick Gennusa. Those are kind of the top guys, and then the rest of the guys followed suit there. And in heat one, moving on to the heat races, first gate drop of 2021, sophomore sensation Bryce Ford grabs the whole shot. He stalls while leading. Jeffrey takes over the lead. Before something happened to him, and then he falls back to third. It's Nick Gennusa's turn at this point, to kind of control the lead here. And though Brandon Hogue gave him a good run, Nick Gennusa held on for the win, and he'd won there. And I was impressed with his ride. Feel like that was a great way for him to start off the season. He was strong in qualifying too, and obviously we'd see that continue throughout the day there. That was a really solid start, and I feel like great start to the year for Nick Gennusa. So I'll let you guys weigh in there.
I think it was a good day for Nick. Obviously, career high finish. and to win a heat race at Daytona, with some pretty, really good guys. Obviously Jeffrey made a mistake and kind of came in and blew a berm and kind of handed that over. I think Bryce Ford had a technical difficulty there, and which led to him getting shuffled back because he was trying to get the bike moving again, and just put Nick right in the right spot. And I was looking for a little bit more race out of Brandon Hogue with Nick, but I think when it all went down, Brandon was just a little bit too behind him, and it just never really transpired into something. But I think for both those guys, there's a good confidence booster going in, and it gave Nick a really good spot on the gate for the main event.
Absolutely. Glooper Logan.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. Like we talked about previously, is not knowing where Nick would fall with these guys, riding in the cold at home in New Jersey. And for him to come out swinging like that, I think it was, I was ecstatic. It was awesome to see, kind of in my brain, I didn't really know it was going to happen. I didn't know how he was going to look. I didn't know how to judge him. I didn't know any of it. So it was cool to see that he's been putting in the work at home, and I guess riding in the cold and the snow has paid off for him. So I'm really happy for him, and it's awesome to see him get that second place that he's always wanted. Now, hopefully one day he'll get a first place and keep on moving from there.
Yeah, we got him coming up on the show. I'm excited to talk to him. But yeah, I agree. We kind of knew what would happen if he could get a start, and to start off the season. I mean, he started off his year last year kind of in a terrible place with the DNF, and to start it off, so well with good qualifying, good heat race going into the main event there. That was really good for him. What about you, Logan? I don't want to pass by Nick without getting your opinion there.
One of the biggest things I noticed, and I even talked to my dad about it after the race on Tuesday, but we talked about, like, this was the first time in a few years where it looked like Nick found the edge on the track. Like, he's always been top 5. He's always been there. But this time he seemed like he could have battled with the front guys. Maybe not Joel, because Joel's on another level, but he was up there, and he was racing a good race. He was doing good.
Absolutely. I mean, we'll cover it a little more as we talk about the main event, but he paced with those leaders, and that's something that we haven't really seen out of him. So yeah, really impressive there. He gets the Heat 1 win, and Heat 2, that was kind of the headliner, featuring Joel Hetrick, Chad Wienen, and rookie Max Lindquist. And man, I feel like Joel again was out to make a statement on that new machine, because he was flying, and I'll open it up to you guys there. But he wasn't just trying to win the heat. I swore, unless that's just his pace is that high, I swear he was out there trying to prove a point.
It was kind of funny when he came in after the heat. Like, I was like, hey dude, like, don't show your cards so early. These guys are going to go try to find some more speed. And he said, I practice harder than that. And I'm like, what? Like, how, no. And he did sprint like the first 3-4 laps to try to pull the gap, and he pulled the gap, and then he kind of just maintained it. And I think the gap from, say, like lap 4 to lap 8 at the finish, Chad had closed back in, but Joe was just kind of maintaining what he needed to do. But he's just like, no big deal. Like, every time he come off the track, everything was just funny and like cool. And yeah, but at the same time, he was definitely proving a point those first few laps there, trying to yank away from those guys.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to weigh in there? He was on a tear, no doubt.
I think I was more worried about the Carly situation than Joel. Joel had it all under control there. I was, hoping that, nothing added extra stress to anyone in that situation. So it was awesome to see pretty much everyone smiling, everyone happy, everyone just, like Logan said, just relax and, very excited, and just a different kind of attitude from everyone.
Awesome. Logan?
No, I mean, they pretty much said it. From spending some time with Joel beforehand, I mean, I saw how much he was pushing the stocker and the race bike. So I knew we were going to see something cool at Daytona.
Still, we knew he was going to be fast, but man, I still came away like, damn, he had another gear that I didn't know that anybody had. So yeah, he killed it. Chad got second. Max was a strong third. Let's move right along to the main event then, because this is when things got interesting. And by the time we got to the first corner of that main event, there was already carnage right out at the front of the pack. And Gloop, I'm so glad that you got that footage there, because it just showed that was a typical first turn racing incident. I mean, there's people out there that want to say, I think it was something other than that, but Chad and Michael Allred kind of ended up sandwiching Jeffrey, just three guys or more racing to the front of that hole shot there. And, you know, so often the middleman gets the short end of the stick in that situation.
Yeah, and if you notice in the back, Cody Ford, VTech, and I think Torini went down too. So,
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of guys going in that small turn. There's a lot of things I realized after the fact that I personally didn't like. I didn't like that there's a hole shot going into potentially crashing into a cement wall. I mean, the bank, you know, we got hay bales there, like they're going to protect anybody, which obviously they didn't help at all.
Right.
But yeah, the typical, you know, everyone's going in the first turn. I don't think there was anyone to blame on any situation at the time. You know, adrenaline's pumping. Anyone is easily going to blame the other rider, but it was everyone going in the first turn wide open, as it always is. And it came out, you know, pretty gnarly. So
we've seen this
sketchy.
We've seen that a lot of times at that Daytona start too. And you're right. It's compounded too. And then to think about that, they were going into a switchback corner, you know, like 180. Yeah, it definitely wasn't ideal. And then if you talk about Jeffrey, you know, Jeffrey, you know, ends up flipping in the situation. And I don't know if that happens if that tough block wasn't there.
Yeah. I mean, to think if, I don't know, like everything about that track now that I didn't really pay attention when I was there. I don't know why, but it was just like, it's a track. It has doubles. It's just
the racetrack, right? You're not critically breaking it down.
Yeah. And then I seen that, you know, bike goes in the corner, it falls over, like a quad pushes wide and can do some damage and then flip on those guys. And honestly, I thought it was pretty dang dangerous if we're going to, you know, be honest about it. Like that's a lot. I mean, how fast do we know how fast are they going in that first turn? And to think that there's just a couple inches of dirt on some cement and you know, those hay bales, it's really, I mean, it's fortunate that no one really seriously got hurt in that situation.
And Cody Ford ended up on the asphalt.
Wow.
You know, he's like, I was pretty much, by the time he got done rolling, he's like, I sat up on the edge of the racetrack, of the paved racetrack. So, I mean, and even watching, if those guys, because, you know, Bryce had an issue on the gate, and I talked to John Ford Sunday night as he was driving home, and he's like, I'm almost glad he did. I mean, not in a good way, but like, because he would have been right in the thick of the carnage too, and he could end up flipping or something like that. So it kind of put him in a position to where he just kind of drove through it. But when you really looked at it, I think it was one of Gloop's videos, like I slowed it way down, and there was like 3 tiers of people coming up the starting line together. And what I found weird is, like, you know, it really wasn't all that long of a start, but it separated that fast. If those guys would have stayed 16 quads wide and then tried to turn, it would have been even messier. And then if everyone would have made it through the first turn in those next 2 S turns, it would have been even worse. So it would have slowed down though. So, you know, they might have got stuck on each other or whatever. It would have been better to get hung up in the S curves than it would there. But I thought they were going to red flag it.
Yeah, it was not pretty. What about you, Logan? Did you see anything else?
I didn't experience the whole shot in the main, but I was on the outside of it for the 2 heats. And even then it was crazy. Like the first turn, so much speed, everybody came together. Nobody wrecked. But then the 180, I think the first race it was, everybody was just hitting each other and trying to, like, you know, get a wheel on the other person to get into that first rhythm section in the lead. And it was hectic.
Yeah, like you guys said, I mean, it was crazy. Obviously, we've seen the pictures and your guys' videos, and yeah, it was crazy. But you know, that was just the beginning to a crazy main event. You know, Chad and Joel are bumping and banging in the first couple corners there, and those switchbacks to claim the early lead. Obviously, you could tell that they're jostling for very valuable real estate to be setting the pace for this race. Chad snatches it. And at that point, you kind of know it's going to be a good race, because who knows if Joel gets the whole shot. I mean, who knows if he's going to sprint away. Chad ends up leading this thing, and he leads for the first 8 laps before Joel makes his move. Kind of, it looked like he launched kind of that single jump, kind of into the corner there, set Chad up, and took control of the lead there. So I'll pause to that point. It looked like, Chad tried to run it in on Joel after Joel made the pass there. But after that, it's like Joel set sail. It looked like it was going to be a long day for the rest of those guys, and like he was going to be in control, kind of like he had been all day. And we had seen a great race up till that point. So I'm going to break there, let you guys touch on what you saw at the first half of the race before we cover the end of it.
To me, it was pretty, the whole time I felt like Joel was just, at one point, like early on lap, like 3 or so, I felt like Joel was getting a little bit impatient, almost like where it looked like he really wanted to make a pass early on. And I was like screaming in my head, like, just be patient. Just, you're just thinking about that kind of stuff, hoping that they're thinking about it. And then you could see he did. He tried a couple different lines that didn't really work. So he would lose a little bit of time. He'd make it back up. And then it was just like a flip of a switch. He's just like, I got to go now. And, he ran it in. He jumped off of that roller, like you said. And he put it into Chad pretty good. They made a little bit of contact. And then, obviously, no one, Chad's going to fight back, and that's rightfully so. And the way Joel like pulled that entire thing off was like perfectly executed, slowed Chad down enough to where he couldn't triple. The question that I had, and I hadn't got to talk to Chad, everything after the race, kind of everyone packed up real quick and split, but I wanted to ask him, and I don't know if he would actually tell me, but when they did, Joel kind of blocked him from doing the triple on the first wall, and then Chad didn't triple into the corner. Then they turned like a hairpin left into the triple out. Chad didn't jump that triple either. And it's been in the back of my mind, like, what happened? Because by then, him and Joel were separated well far enough to where he could have tripled after the hairpin without a chance, or without any altercations, or worried about landing on someone.
Sure.
And so I don't know, to me it was just really weird, but it really made it look like Joel set sail like in a matter of like 100 foot. That it that wasn't even realistic, the gap he pulled within the first 20 seconds because of what had happened there. And then obviously we've seen him continue to pull away, and Chad got back on the pace and was perfectly fine. Like at one point I was like, man, like I even thought was something wrong with Chad's bike, but it was just something that I witnessed there that it was really bizarre to me.
Okay. Yeah. Because I wondered after Joel got the lead, like right after he took it, after that kind of switchback, those 2 corners, looked like maybe he ran Chad kind of just out of room, like on that first jump there. And then, Chad tried to run it in that next corner, what would have been a left-hander right before a little triple jump thing. And I think that he wishes that he would have just followed suit there and been able to do all the jumps with him and kind of gave himself a chance. Cause like you said, it felt like it took a section or two, and Joel had 3 seconds or whatever, so it developed quickly there. But like I said, I feel like we had seen all day, Joel at this point is now sprinting away and trying to make a statement. And what about you, Gloop or Logan? I got to believe that everybody here was thinking, Joel's obviously going to win this race at this point. You probably couldn't have imagined a scenario where it was going to go any differently.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't notice what Casey noticed, but I noticed right when they went across that finish that it was a big gap right away. And I didn't see, looking through a hole, a tiny little hole in that camera, you don't see much that other people see.
Right.
But I was like, wow, like this is crazy. And that gap, went from they're next to each other to a big gap pretty fast. And it was just kind of cool to see. And even Chad said something about, like the speed and the pass, like he didn't mind that pass. It wasn't dirty to him. He said something to that fact. And I thought it was like, that was cool. Like I wanted to see that in 4 or 5 more corners. Like I want to make a TV show that's exciting. So,
right.
it was awesome to see like how that went down. And, they're coming up and Joel's in the inside going into that single, and then the line cuts wide. And then if you look to the right, Caesar's stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
So that could have been something even worse. And both those guys, or all three of them, are lucky that no one bumped into Caesar and they all got stuck or something like that. But it was, it was an intense moment. And it was very exciting, and it was cool to see that lead right away and that gap. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. What about
you couldn't have put a toothpick between Chad's tires and Caesar's. Like I was standing in the stands right above that corner. So it was like, you're just almost in awe. And I'm like, oh, Caesar. Oh, wow. They threaded the needle right there really well.
See, and I don't know, Logan, I'll let you hop in right here. I don't know if I'm assuming what happened is Chad could hear what Joel was doing, and kind of like gave him some room. 'Cause it looked to me like there was potential that they were going to contact each other, like Joel was going to land on Chad or land on his tires or whatever, right? Like that's the part of the track that Chad was going. Didn't work out that way, obviously, thankfully, that there was no issues like that, but it was super good racing. I love to see it.
Yeah, back to what Casey said about like how Joel pulled so much after he first passed him. I didn't notice it in person because, like Gloop said, we're watching the cameras. We're really not paying attention to the actual racing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I rewatched the video Gloop posted, the ATV motocross one, in the recap, he's so far ahead right away, and I didn't even take notice that Chad didn't do that section. But yeah, it was awesome to see that insane of battling going on there for the lead.
So Joel is leading at this point. He leads for 6 laps before tragedy strikes. And this is obviously the topic that everybody wants to talk about. He gets together with a lapper while they're in the air, and down goes Joel Hetrick hard. Heartbreaking moment there. Kind of felt like we've been there before. It felt like kind of 2016 all over again, with Joel Hetrick going down hard.
Crickets. I'll go first. Man, it's just one of those things. You got a guy that's going so fast and a guy that's right behind him. We're talking about this massive lead, but it really was like 5-6 seconds. And anytime that you have to interact with other, or have anything that slows you down a little bit in your head, you're just like, wow, like, I can't lose 2 seconds to Chad Wienen. Like, you don't do that. And hopefully if it does happen, you can recover it. Joe was in a position that he probably could have recovered it. Everyone had it under control. It was just a bad spot on the track. That rhythm section through the finish line area, Logan and Michael were racing for a good position, top 10 position in a very stacked field. And, both of those guys have so much to prove. And it just, the perfect storm came at the very wrong time, and a racing incident happened, and unfortunately Joel got the short end of the stick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it's a tough position for every one of those guys to be in. You got to think that it's not very often. I mean, you don't get lapped very often. It's something that happens at Daytona. It doesn't happen at a ton of the other tracks, especially with riders as good as Michael Allred and Logan Stanfield. And they're locked in a battle of their own, right? Like they're battling for position. Like you said, that's a good top 10 position that they're in. And I told you guys before we came on here, when we're kind of briefing what we're going to talk about, it's a tough position to be in because I've been that guy. Like I've been the guy getting lapped, but racing for position, and had the other rider, give way less than I did because I gave John Natale all the room he needed, and have that person snipe the top 10 position that I would have killed for because I just wanted to be sure to get out of John's way. That's a tough position for those guys to be in. It's a tough position for Joel to be in, like you said, Casey, because he obviously feels like he has to go. Like you said, if you spend a section or two behind a lapper, I'm sure it feels like that's a lifetime. So he's like, I have to go. Chad's not that far behind. I gotta go. And he doesn't think he's putting himself in harm's Wolfe's way. But again, I feel bad for Joel because, he was on his way to a win there to start the season. Obviously, the whole, everything changes now. He finds himself 19 points down instead of 3 points up. And again, I feel bad for Mike because probably puts a damper on his day. He ended up with an 8th overall finish, which is a killer finish, an amazing finish for a rookie in his debut. And that's probably all overshadowed by what happened. So I feel for everybody involved, but again, it's just a racing incident. I don't think it's ignorance. I don't think that Mike is a good, hard, strong racer. He's a smart racer. Some things just happen sometimes and it sucks, but things just happen. So I'll let the other guys weigh in here.
I want to say something real quick. Sorry, Gloop.
Yeah.
I said it, unfortunately, it got Joel. And I started thinking about it after I said it, and I didn't mean it. If it would have happened to Michael, it still would have been unfortunate. I just felt like I needed to get that. It was unfortunate either way, whether it was Joel or Michael or anyone that was right there in that situation.
No, I know what you mean because it changed the course of it changed things, but it sucks for everybody involved. Sucks for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What I noticed, who's in control of the blue flag? Does every flagger have a blue flag? Does just the finish? Does the finish line plus 2 refs? So 4 guys I'm seeing, Casey.
Yeah, there was 4 blue flags on the track.
Okay. What I noticed, one thing that, we always talk about it in the pro riders meeting, it's, a yellow flag. If they're waving the yellow flag like crazy, someone's down and hurt. If they have the yellow flag held out, that, someone's down. It's not that serious. When they went across that finish line, that guy was just holding the flag. They should have been waving, pointing something to notify those other guys that, hey, you're getting lapped. And I'm not going to play blame game on anyone on any side and anything because everyone gets butt hurt. But, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle. I don't think it's fair for the internet to jump on one side or the other. There's a lot of recently, just the comments that I see on the internet all around for the last 2 years are insane. It goes from, playful, hateful comments to just downright, just very hateful stuff. And I really wish people would stop that stuff because it gets to people, they're all human beings involved in the situation. So, that being said, it's not one guy's fault, 1 or 2 guys' fault. There's a lot of pieces to this puzzle. It's a racing incident.
And knowing Logan, I'm going to let you hop in here. Knowing Mike and knowing Logan Stanfield, they would have been the first 2 guys to. They weren't trying to impede Joel Hetrick. If they would have known what they were doing, they would have clearly moved out of the way. You have to realize that when you're locked in a battle like that, you hear another bike, you hear somebody coming fast, but you just think it's the other guy. You're not thinking it's the leaders or whatever. And yeah, I've watched Harv because a lot of times Harv will have a blue flag and he will go out into the middle of the track to wave that blue flag, but there's only one Harv, right? And you gotta, Harv would do anything to make sure a lapper wouldn't, impede the progress of the leaders. But again, you got to think like the way that Harv is too. He's so mentally in control of everything that's going on. And there's probably not another person out there, with a flag in their hand that is as, in tune with what's going on like Harv is.
Harv was doing that too. He was putting in the work with the blue flag. I saw him all over and making sure, everyone's safe. And he really was doing his job that day.
He always does. And you did a great job there, Gloop, of touching on that. These are human beings and these are young riders and riders that are new to this thing. And nobody wants to experience that hate, especially they're just out there. everybody's out there doing their best, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
What about you?
From my experience with that exact lap, I was at the beginning of the where the finish line was, so the very beginning of that section, and Logan and Michael were side by side through the entire thing. They went over the finish line. I think I saw a blue flag there, but Joel was behind them the entire time, so they were 100% in the heat of the moment. They probably had no idea Joel. I mean, if they knew Joel was behind him, they would have got out of the way. So it was just extremely unfortunate, not even just for Joel, not even just for Michael, but even for everybody, all the fans, you know, even Chad. Like I had an interview with Chad before Daytona, and he said there were a lot of years beforehand, before Joel was like battling with him, and he said when it was just me up there, like it wasn't fun. So even like a situation like this, it's unfortunate for every single racer, every single fan. It's just, it sucks that we have to deal with it.
Well, we have Chad coming up, but you're going to hear it. And you heard on the podium that it's not like he was on a natural high from winning, because he knows that it wasn't the way he wanted to win, put it that way. So I think we touched enough on that subject. I just felt like it was necessary to, I mean, like Gloop said, I mean, there's been so many hateful comments out there, not just about this, but about so many things, and all the negativity sucks, right? Like, all of us are fans of this. Don't look at the pages. Don't watch all the shit if you're not a fan of it. If you just want to bash on the stuff that's going on, like, we don't have any room for that. Like we all love it. And I just, to see those sour comments, even on like good, positive posts, like to see that shit, I can't stand it.
It's been like nonstop for like the last year, you know, and I'm sure COVID has people acting a little bit different, but it's insane. Like, I mean, I got some guy that told me he was going to beat me up at Daytona because he didn't like my videos, and he said he was going to make a presence. He's going to make his presence known. He'll let me know he's there. Well, guess what? I didn't see that guy, of course, but the point is like, people need to just calm down. And these guys that end up quitting or not racing anymore, and they were avid racers in the sport, why are you bashing it? Like, don't bash it, support it. Like, and I know we all know in the back of the head a couple people we've seen, or, you know, someone's gonna say, oh, you're talking about me. Well, if you're thinking I'm talking about you, maybe you need to calm down in the comments. So.
Yeah, maybe it is you, because I don't read the comment section much because of this exactly. Like, I've said it for years. It's always been kind of one of my closing things. It's like, hey, let's spread the positivity. Like, you guys are doing videos and press of all this stuff, and like the pit shots and the kids, you know, having fun, and everyone's sitting around with smiles on their face. That's the stuff you guys are putting out there, and that's what it should be. At the same time, you guys are getting the blood, sweat, and tears too. But like, dude, if you're sitting at home on the couch, like, thank you for supporting the sport, but support it. Don't be negative. Don't bash people. I'm all in. And Gloop, that dude shows up, you just come get me. We'll make sure it's handled.
I was waiting, you know. I wanted to say hi, you know, shake his hand.
Yeah, it's a shame that people got to be that way. Life's got to suck when all you do is see the negative side of things, or just feel like you need to spread negativity. Feel like life probably can't be that fun. So yeah, that's enough of that talk, but hopefully we can get out in front of that and plant some seeds that'll prosper in a positive way there. But yeah, moving on from that, Chad takes over the lead with the 17-second gap over Gennusa, who's in second place at that point. But yeah, I thought it was super honorable for Chad. So he wins, and from atop the podium, talking about positivity, he's wishing Joel well and says that he didn't want to win like that, you know, he wanted to earn the win straight up. And I thought that was a special moment. I thought that was, you know, that too. I mean, I feel like, you know, people always cheer against the guy that's, you know, does so much winning. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why you always kind of get people that don't, you know, whether they're bashing on Chad or whatever, you know, you get some of that just because he's won so much. But I thought that was an honorable moment, and something that wanted to be able to highlight, because want to make sure everybody knows there that it's not quite so hostile between those two guys like I feel like some people think it is.
You know,
and even like, oh, go ahead, Gloop, because you're going to say what I said.
Well, when Chad came off, you know, everyone's had their hands out for the spectators, and he shook his head. You know, he it was like a respect moment. He knew that, you know, he doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want anyone to get hurt. He wants to have a fair race, and that's what it was. And he even said when I interviewed him after, you know, Joel was rolling out there, and I don't want to see anyone get hurt, and I don't know what happened because he didn't. And I have like 3 times more respect for that guy, and he made an awesome post, you know, the day after, it could have been, look at me, look at the podium, but it was more respectful. I'm happy to get the results, but also, looking out for Joel as well. So
yeah,
and he even made mention of like, them getting ready to have a baby and him having a bad crash. Like I literally watched the ride, I don't know, an hour before we started this podcast, and I was just like, man, like, mad respect. That's the only way you can put it. Like, just the way you could tell when he said something about like them getting ready to have a baby, and the way the race went and stuff, like he actually meant it, and that's big. And he's a father, Joel. It's crazy.
Yeah, both of those guys are just such great ambassadors, and at times I don't feel like they get both of them, that they get the credit that they deserve. Okay, so yeah, and at that time we don't know how badly Joel is hurt. Obviously we've since learned that he's a little banged up, but he's going to be good to go when racing resumes in Texas. Great news there, of course. Obviously want to congratulate him and Carly on the new addition to their family. Happened today, which is pretty awesome. Thankfully it didn't, like Gloop kind of talked about earlier, it didn't happen during race day, and then the craziness that ensued, it didn't create any gnarly craziness there. But yeah, it sounds like Joel's going to be okay.
We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
All right, guys, here he is, the man you've all wanted to hear from, the man you've all been waiting for. Brought to you by Factory 43, the aluminum parts choice of this two-time champ. He trusts their Nerf bars, bumpers, and grab bars, and you should too. It's legend of the sport, Mr. Joel Hetrick. What's up, man? Glad to see that you're doing okay. We were all pretty worried on Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I just wanted to get on here and definitely clear the air a little bit and talk about the situation. I am doing good. I'm actually on my trip home to Pennsylvania right now. We just had our little baby boy Eli, and now we're going to go home. We got appointments and stuff like that. So best place to be is home right now, and that's where we're headed.
Awesome. Yeah, first and foremost, obviously that's where I was going. I wanted to congratulate you and Carly on the arrival of baby Eli there. Glad he didn't decide to make his grand appearance on Tuesday. That would have made everything even more hectic.
Oh my gosh, we're super fortunate with him holding off to bless us with his appearance on a couple of days later. So we're definitely stoked on that. And everything was good with him, and Carly's doing good as well. So
good.
One big happy family.
That's awesome. We couldn't be happier for you. Yeah, Gloop told us, he said that he was more worried about the Carly situation, the baby situation, than you were. He felt like everything for you was just in slow motion, like you were as content as could be on Tuesday.
Yeah, I was. I was just in the zone. I knew that that day was my day, and I knew Carly could handle whatever was thrown at her. She was super strong and pretty independent. So I knew that she was gunning for me to just do my best that day and not worry about nothing. And I was head down, ready to rip. Okay,
so if something was to happen, like, could you have done it right at the racetrack there? Could she have had the baby there? I heard some stuff that you were wondering about that the night before. So
I asked in the pro meeting. I was just joking around. I'm like, so they deliver babies in the care center? And they're like, oh, we don't know about that. We'll actually have to find out, because it's all free in there. So I'm like, well, shit, maybe that'd be a good.
There you
good
go.
Deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm obviously glad that it worked out for everybody involved with everything there. Yeah. And so little background here. You hit me up on Friday night and basically said, get me on the show. If you want to have some good stuff to listen to, I'll give you some good stuff to listen to. So here we are. We pulled some strings. We wanted to get you on the Daytona review here. Tell me about your day leading up to kind of the incident late in the main event there at Daytona. I've been saying, I think this is the gnarliest that we ever saw you. I mean, just watching what you were doing there on the racetrack, that was the coming out party of you on this new Yamaha. It looked like you were on a mission from the moment you hit the track that morning.
I really was. And, obviously I had something to prove, being that, it's a new quad, and I had to prove it to myself. Like, I've never raced that four-wheeler against anyone, never started it against anyone, nothing, So for me, it's like, if I can go out there, and I knew I could go out there and put in laps that, I felt like I could be faster every single lap. Like I don't know. Every lap I felt like I was getting more comfortable on the bike and hitting, different lines better and better every lap. And it just kept getting better the whole day. And, the bike was working awesome. It's been really an amazing experience on it. And it's definitely elevated my game. I would say I elevated my fitness, but I got a little sure knowing that this bike was going to be a little harder to handle, and I think that really helped too.
Yeah, for sure. It obviously looked like it. And Casey basically told us, like, you didn't even feel like it's not like you were riding over your head. It's not like you were riding, like, pushing the limit on this thing. He just felt like your baseline speed right now is so fast on that machine. Like, that's what you were showing everybody.
Yeah. No, I told them guys, I maybe could go a little faster here and there, but just for me to run those really consistent laps where it wasn't scary, it wasn't sketchy. I was running, I looked at my lap times, I ran 58s every lap but one, and that was when I passed Chad, and I was just from, bumping and grinding a little bit. But
right.
I was just looking at the lap times, I was pretty pumped, because to me it shows like I could have done that for 28 laps. It didn't matter how many more laps I had. I was super, I don't know, I was in the zone. I was not pushing my limits. I wasn't breathing hard. I was ready. I was super comfortable.
Yeah, that's incredible. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say I did a bunch of starts, and I didn't do a bunch of starts on dirt like that, so it was difficult with the wheeling about 3/4 of the way down the start with the bike. I didn't really get that on the Honda, so. Sure. For that, I had to double clutch it, and then Chad got a little in front of me. Me and Hogue hit on the main event start, and that really slowed me down. But the heat race, I pulled a good start on that, and I just when I started to pull away, I was actually surprised, just because the way I was riding, I was like, I wasn't really pushing the envelope too hard, but I was also like, all right, I'm going to sprint, try to get away from Chad, and I expected him to be, breathing down my neck the whole time. But it is the heat race, and this, finishing in the heat race up front is always key. So that could have been his goal, but I felt unstoppable that day, and it's just crappy ordeal that happened late in the moto, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get there. So yeah, I mean, both qualifiers, obviously, you're head and shoulders the fastest guy. You kind of make a statement there, sprinting in the heat race. There's this melee getting to the main event. There's this melee in the first corner. You guys make it through that. You're breathing down Chad's neck at the start of the race there for the first, half of it, basically. So you get by Chad at the halfway point, you run the fastest lap, you build a 4+ second lead. Then take me through what happens next, because I'm assuming that that's kind of what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I can't but not talk about that. Obviously, that's what I wanted to talk about. I mean, got around Chad, I forget, it was a little over halfway, maybe 2 laps after halfway. And I think after that, I had my fastest lap time, 58.1, and then I was in 58s. I was coming up on lap traffic. I had seen the blue flags a lap prior to getting to the guys I ran into, Logan and Mike. And, I seen the flags waving before the lap, the incident. And then when I was behind them after the wall jump, so the wall jump, turn left, right-hander, and then a little sand section into the big jump into the rhythm before the finish. And I was behind him this whole time. So Logan saw me in the corner before the finish line stretch. Okay. And he dove under Mike, and they both didn't jump that first double, so then I'm right there. And they're just side-by-side battling. Nothing really they can do at that point. I mean, they're going down the straightaway. I can't just pull out of the way. So we get to the left-hand turn. Logan's on his side. He checks. Then I the next step up before the jump that I crashed on. And so I'm inside of Mike right there. And I'm directly beside him. Jeffrey's probably a bike lane, 2 bikes up to the left and from him. He's going. And inside of the jump. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting raced up the face of this jump. So I'm not real sure how he didn't understand that I was there, or maybe he thought it was Logan. I don't know. I don't know what's in Mike's head. You know, me and Mike are friends. We were friends. We still are. I think it's a crappy deal, but I mean, I honestly think he came from left center of the jump and crept over to the right just enough, and you know, I was right there, and for me, he should have checked up in my head, you know, knowing that there's 2 blue flags that I seen behind him, following for 2 sections. Rastrelli seen me, Logan seen me. The only person who didn't was Mike. And you know, there's a lot of people online that are saying, you know, that I came left, or that he held his line, but the blue flag states don't impede the progress of the leader, so and allow him to pass. And I just disagree. I don't think he did any of that. And I don't know if he didn't know it was me, like I was saying, but it shouldn't have happened like that.
No, you're right. I mean, it is a tough place for everybody involved, right? I mean, it's obviously tough for you because you're in sprint mode. I mean, at that point, you know, you're building a lead, but you've also been behind these guys for a while at that point where you're feeling like, hey, like Chad's obviously making up time. I need to go. Yeah. So it's a tough place for you to be in. And then you look at the situation where, you know, Mike probably has never been lapped before, not like that. There is no lapping that goes on really other than Daytona, because I mean, that's just a short racetrack, whatever. And it is tough.
We knew it. Yeah, we knew we were going to run into lappers, and in the meeting he had said that. Harv had said, you know, this is a race that you will run into lappers, and he, I'm not sure if he emphasized the blue flags enough or what the case was in the meeting. I thought he did. I think he said there were supposed to be 4 blue flags on the track, which I don't think there was. And you know, that's here nor there, but you know, it's just it's a tough spot for everyone involved, and you know, there's a lot of hate going on, you know, Facebook towards Mike, and you know, it's sad to see. It's kind of, you know, it's a hard spot for him to be in right now. I think maybe if you would have publicly announced, like, hey, you know, sorry for what happened, this and that. Like, for me, I don't care. Me and Mike are cool. He apologized to me, and I told my dad, I told, you know, my close friends and family, I'm like, me and Mike, we've had a relationship for years. Like, that, I really don't think he did it on purpose, but I do think he made a mistake. I think he made a mistake, and I think that if he would have owned up to it on social media, then it would have cleared the air for him dramatically, and probably let the situation go a little sooner than it would have.
Right.
But
of course,
he's a rookie pro, and that's, you know, he's not a big social media guy, whatever. And that's that's something I thought would help him. I deleted some comments on my post. I stopped comments on my one video just because they were so harsh. Like, I've tried to help, but there's people that don't see that, and then they still want to argue with the fact of what happened. And the fact of what happened is he made a mistake, and that's bottom line. Like, that's what happened. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so obviously he didn't do anything on purpose. I mean, nobody wants to be the guy to change or impact what happened at the front of the race, the winner of this race, right? Like, it's nobody wants to be that guy. Now, I will say, I mean, taking it from Mike's perspective, you know, he's racing for a top 10 position against other good riders. Now, if he obviously must have just not known it was you, not knowing you were there. And it's a tough spot to be in, because I've been that guy before, getting lapped, giving way at Daytona to the leader, John Natale, and then having the rider that I'm battling with, you know,
go around you probably.
Exactly. And I lost the top 10 spot the first year that we raced at Daytona there because of that. And that sucks. Now, but I was so scared to be the guy that wasn't going to impact what happened at the front, right? Like, there was no way I was going to get in the way, but it is a tough spot to be in. Again, if you have no experience getting lapped, I'm trying to take the people that like haven't been out there, maybe haven't been in a racing situation like this. Like, you hear another bike, but you just assume it's the other rider. And it was actually Joel Hetrick. And as soon as you realize that you've taken out the race leader, I can't imagine what that feeling is like. And we talked about it a little bit. It sucks for Mike because he finished 8th. That's a great finish as a rookie pro. And now it's all overshadowed by,
Yep.
what happened with you guys. And that really sucks.
It does suck for him in his pro debut. It's a bummer. And I'm not sure if what that was his pro debut. Was it?
Well,
raced some last year.
he raced at south of the border.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is his first full on season as a pro. And
Yep.
to have this, that's just a sour way to start things off.
Definitely overshadowing his finish. And, like I said, I like Mike and he is a good rider. I think, he wasn't giving up that spot, and regardless who was coming up next to him, if that was Stanfield that had tried to done that, I think that Stanfield would be on the ground, or maybe Stanfield would have checked up, and people say maybe I should have checked up. But honestly, I was ahead of him at one point going up the face, and I got raced to the face of the jump.
So you think he might have saw you and just was a mistake, straight up mistake.
I just think it was a mistake. I don't think he knew it was me though. Like you're saying, I think maybe he thought it was Logan, and he he battled with him the entire race. That's what he told me in the text message. Like he was in a heated battle of his own, and I obviously seen it. I was there for 2 sections. I know he was.
Yep. And
he was the only one that didn't look back to see me. Logan saw me prior to the jump. Jeffrey saw me in the turn going way up top. And there's a bunch of variables. Maybe he thought Jeffrey was going to check up, so he curved right on the face, there, because he was there too, but Jeffrey was probably 2 bikes ahead of him from the video I saw, and I didn't get a concussion or nothing, so I know exactly what happened. I see the videos, and it's just a crappy ordeal, but I needed to come on here and talk about it and kind of clear the air. If it just for everyone's sake, it's like, all right, we can all be pissed off. That's fine. People have feelings. People are going to be mad. People are going to be upset. I'm sure Mike's upset about the deal, and he's getting a lot of hate for it. And I do feel bad about that. That is shitty.
Yep.
But I just think, like I said earlier, maybe if he would have done like a post that, hey man, get well, I feel bad, I didn't mean to do that. I think that would have helped him out a lot in the long run.
Yep.
But hopefully this will clear the air and just put this crap behind us, because for me, I got a lot to make up. I got a lot to make up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there's nothing I can do. So.
And it's again, I just want to say one more time, it's a tough spot for everybody involved. Sucks for you, sucks for him, sucks for everybody, sucks for the sport, sucks for the fans, sucks for everybody. But I've seen a lot of hot takes on social media, a lot of stuff that shouldn't be being said, a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be said. It's not doing any good for the sport or anybody. So I'm just glad that we could get you on here to weigh in. And honestly, obviously I loved when you went live that night, made sure everybody knew you were okay, all that stuff, because there was speculation about that going on. But I love that, ATV racing right now, ATV motocross, with like a podcast like this, with a radio show like this, you have an ability to kind of vocalize your, and address some of the stuff that you're dealing with. And you have a way to tell people, hey, pump the brakes. Like, nothing good is going to come from this. It's a mistake. And you know what? This isn't going to happen again. I guarantee it's not going to happen again now with any of these riders, because they don't want to be the person that this happens to, that causes this. It sucks. It sucks for everybody.
It sucks for everyone. And it's, like I told my dad, he's got a temper. He's very upset.
Yep.
And he just jumped off the deep end, and I'm like, hey, let me tell you something. Me and him we're good friends, and we still are. It's like, how am I to say, like, go over there and freaking scream down his throat because he's a freaking a-hole? Right. I would love to scream at him for that point in time, but I even told him in the text, I'm like, I had to think about it for a little bit, Mike, because I just didn't want to say anything I didn't want to regret. And he was super nice, and he's like, I'm praying for you, and if there's anything I could do, I'd love to learn about the situation, try to not make that mistake again. And there's like I tell everyone, you can't live in the past. There's nothing we can do now. It's over with. But I do get irritated seeing people online and their comments, even directed towards me. And I have not even half of a quarter of people are trying to stick up for Mike. But it's like, you can stick up for him, man. But he did impede the race a little bit, and he did definitely obstruct the leader. And I think that he should have just backed off. But like we said, we don't know if he didn't know it was me. So for him, it's like he didn't really do anything wrong at the time. You know, I don't even think he really knew that anyone crashed.
Yeah, and the last thing I think that needs to be said is if he did think it was Logan that he's racing against, I mean, you're at the point of lapping these guys. You're going that much faster. If he thought that was another rider he was battling with, he wouldn't have thought that he was going to come up on him, even if it's just that one corner, that jump, as fast as you were. Like you're 3/4 into the race. You're 3/4 into the race and you're a lap ahead of them. You're going to be moving a lot faster than they are. You're coming by at a way faster rate of speed. Just in general, it's just a misjudgment, but it's going to be a learning situation for everybody, because again, everybody's going to see what has happened and not want to be that person. So I just think it's awesome for you to be able to kind of voice where you're at. You should be the person that's most upset and kind of talk these people down off the ledge, all these, so-called fans or these trolls, these people that, I mean, spreading hate is going to create no good for the sport. No. Mike is going to go on to, be a good professional ATV racer, and we need those guys out there, and stuff like this can chase people away from the sport, and we don't want to see any of that.
Exactly. That's another thing I've been kind of dwelling on the past couple of days is like, I'm super upset. I told him that I'm very pissed off about the situation.
Yep.
But I don't want Mike to get so discouraged that, he don't want to race anymore because these people online are so harsh.
Right.
And I get it. People are mad and they are saying what on the top of their head, right off the top of their head. And then, sometimes you shouldn't say that. So I feel bad at that part. But, there's a lot of people that understand the situation I've been in and the stuff that I went through to even get the 2 championship I've had. And they know how upsetting this is for me. And, to come from such a deficit again, it's like, this is not how we wanted to start. We had a win in the bag, I thought, but racing is racing and lappers do impede races. We've seen it with Dean Wilson and Ken Roxon. There's plenty incidents like this that have happened over racing, and it's just I was in this one, and I did not. I told a bunch of people I didn't see that coming one bit. I thought, for sure we were going to jump that thing side by side, and or if not, he was going to check up and jump over to the left, just knowing that it was me. But that was not the case.
And you know what? Every one of us, as professional athletes like you, as normal, just everyday people, like me. You have to overcome things when you're dealt with it. And obviously, again, think that people should kind of take kind of initiative like you have. You're putting it behind you. Like you're the one that should be the most upset. And okay, like we have a challenge in front of us, but and nobody wants to experience something like that. But it is what it is, and we need to move on. And to dwell on it is only gonna just hamper your goals, hamper what you want to do. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity for everybody just to move on from this thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can imagine just from me reading comments, like my adrenaline goes from 0 to 100 real quick, and it's then I get all mad again, and it's like, all right, well, I couldn't even imagine, if Mike read the comments or Mike's family, like how upset. Angry they would be. So it's like there's nothing that's going to come out of this anymore that's going to be good. Like everyone just needs to kind of back off and let it go and accept what I'm saying, because it's the truth. And if you don't think it's the truth, then you're full of shit. That's straight up. Like that's what I believe. And like it should be done with now. And like you said, I got a lot of work ahead of me, but I've been in this spot before, and I'm pretty good at the chase. So.
Oh yeah. So, I just, I'm sure, we've all experienced this at one point when you read a comment that somebody makes about you and you get this sinking feeling, right? Like in the pit of your stomach, and it's horrible. Yeah. Like nobody wants to be that person. Then I always think about like when you hear things being said nasty about racers, athletes, whatever, like you have to think like they're putting all of their being into doing their best, right? Like training, working on their stuff, racing on the track. And then you just go out there, do your best, you make a mistake. And then people are saying such hateful things like, again, this is the last thing, like we'll move on after this. Like, it sucks. It sucks for you, sucks for him, sucks for us, sucks for everybody. But I mean, that is what it is. So the biggest thing, Joel, how is your health? I mean, are we good? Just little sore? Are we good and going to be good for 3 palms?
We'll be good for 3 pounds. We're not good yet. We're
okay.
Still, I got just from the impact on the hip and the left side, off like that, and direct on my back. I got a couple more appointments to hit, and just to make sure we're good and there's nothing really jacked up. But there's nothing broke. I got a CT, I got an X-ray, my pelvis, my femur, my hip, and all that. And there's nothing broke, but still some swelling at the time, so I got to go back and do it again.
Okay.
But the pain I was having in my right side is gone now, which I'm super happy about. Just have some tenderness on, my butt cheek up top from the impact. Still sore, but okay. I got to go back and get checked out again. But I think that the worst of it's gone, and I don't think there's anything really internal that's wrong or broke. I just want to double check, just because it was my back, and I want to make sure that I'm good before I go out there and start freaking riding and tweak my back or something. I'm like, all right, well, now I can't race at all. So I just want to double check, but it should be fine. Got some bruises still.
Okay. Well, thankfully you got a nice little break here, right? I mean, you got almost a month, so you can kind of get everything back in check. Hopefully you're going to use that to your advantage.
Yeah, luckily.
And I mean, right. So, awesome to hear that you're doing okay. Things are looking up. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Again, on Tuesday, there was a period of time there where nobody really knew what was going on.
Oh.
So, glad to know that you're hanging in there.
The Tuesday, I wish I would have tried to get back up and finish, but I got bar stabbed so bad in my groin area, right, hip flexor area, I guess. The bar about freaking went through my leg, it felt like, but I had such a wave of coldness in my leg, tingly. I was like, I don't know what this, but it ain't good. Just tight, banged up, but double check, another X-ray, and you go to chiropractor and he'll straighten out again, and I'll be good.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect. Well, awesome. Glad to hear about that. Let's get you out of here on this note. I want to end on a positive note here. How about those CST Pulse MXR tires, pal? They're amazing, huh?
Yeah, the CST tires. I know you told everyone, and then I tried to tell everyone, but them things are next level. Even Jeffrey, he got on them, a little after me, and he was just amazed. And I'm like, I told you. I don't know what, I know the difference, and they're better. And they're better because of the difference in the tire. And it's just I was so blown away by it. You could see entering a couple turns just how I could enter them and grab traction. Where I think that, I pulled a little bit on Chad here and there because of that. And for me, I was like, heck yeah, they're just exactly what I thought they were going to be. So.
Yeah, man. So I was so excited to obviously see that, when that news broke, and then we talked about it and all those things. I've been preaching it for years that I couldn't believe, the next level tire that the CST is, and I think that, it's going to be your not so secret weapon this season. I think it's going to be really interesting. We talked about this on the season preview, that it's been a lot of years where you and Chad have been on the exact same tire. And to think that, there's going to be a difference there, good, bad, or indifferent. There's going to be something different there. And I think the CST is the advantage.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I'm excited to get back at home and get on some hard pack and really put them to the test, because I've been riding a lot of sand. There's one track down here we rides hard pack, but I'm really curious to see what we got on the hard pack, because I think we're going to be right where we need to be.
And Joel, that's where I saw the biggest difference with the crown of the front tire and then the side bite that the rears have. I saw the biggest difference on hard pack stuff.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Just by looking at them and then, riding them where I rode them, I felt the same thing. I'm like, this is going to be really, really good.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait to see it. I think it's going to be a heck of a year. Like you said,
Oh, yeah.
starting in a little hole, but there's a lot of racing yet to be done. And this isn't a hurdle that you haven't had to overcome before, just like you said.
Oh yeah, I've had what was that, 29 points when I won the 2019 championship, and it all, came together with the last couple rounds. Unfortunately for Chad with the mechanical, but there's plenty of racing left. There's a ton of motos left, so I just got to get out there and get to work and hopefully click off some wins and be safe doing it and just put all this crap behind us.
Yeah.
Because like we said earlier, there's nothing more we can do. You can, cry on social media and blame other people, and it's just there ain't nothing we can do. So let's just put it behind us. If it happens again, do whatever you want, but I don't think it's gonna.
No, I don't think so either. I think we can put that to bed and focus on that. It's going to be a fun year of racing, and man, to see you just with different machine, different tires, seems like just different vibes. It's awesome to see, and I think it's going to make for a really fun year for you as a rider, and then for us as fans too.
Definitely, I'm very excited. And I agree, it's going to be an awesome year for everyone, and I think ATV MX is going to get pretty interesting, and it's definitely going to be one to watch.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get you out of here on that note, pal. We're just glad that your family's doing so well, obviously with baby Eli. Glad that you're doing okay, and that you're sounds like you're going to be okay to fight another day. Joel Hetrick will surely be back.
Oh yeah, it. I'll be back.
Awesome, man. Well, that's former two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who's eager to get back to the winner's circle here in 2021, brought to you by our friends at Factory 43. Just want to thank you again, pal. Stay safe and travel safe, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Cody. I'll talk to you soon.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
We're probably in for a really, really good season, especially as fans here. I mean, there's a gap in the points, but Joel looks like he's like he's faster, like he's better than ever. Chad is obviously going to feel like he's still got something to prove because he came out with the maximum amount of points, but he doesn't feel like he won necessarily, at least not the way he wanted to. So as we kind of transition into the normal part of the series, going outdoor racing and all the tracks we're used to these guys racing at, got to believe that we're in for entertaining summer, I would think.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I mean, different schedule, a lot of Yamahas, a lot of guys on bikes, a lot more reliability in that sense, I guess. And it's really going to be an exciting season. This is a question for you, Cody. When you're the points guy, when Joel blew up at Pleasure Valley, how far down was he at that point?
7.
So it's 1-1 is a 3-point or a
6.
Is 3 points for a moto, so 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you have to win 3 races to
4 to get in the lead.
6,
yeah. Okay, so 3 to get even close, and then 4 to get in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at a pretty intense season, I guess.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, and now we're going to talk about these other guys, and I mean, there's a lot of other good guys there too. I feel like I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the quality of the riders there, lived up to all the hype. And I guess starting at the top of this thing, we wondered who would step up and kind of fill that Thomas Brown spot that as the clear-cut podium guy. And on Tuesday, there was no doubt that was Nick Gennusa. We touched on it when we were talking about the heat race. He ended up pacing those riders, those top 2 guys in the main event. He hung on to them for the longest time. He was within 5 seconds at the midway point of the race. And, like I said, all day he was fast in qualifying. He wins the heat. He keeps up with the top 2 guys keeps them in his sights in the main event there. He's riding all alone in third. It was a very Thomas Brown-like day. He ends up, finishing second after what happens to Joel. Career day for Nick Gennusa. And got to believe that that's an amazing way to start the season for him. We also got him coming up on the show. I'm excited to hear some positivity in his voice. But he could be a guy that, maybe he's the guy that steps up and kind of I don't know, claims that top 3 spot as his own. I mean, I think we kind of said if he can get some starts, I mean, he could easily be that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I get, like Logan said, the intensity is there that we saw so far. Me and Nick have had many conversations of what do I think you can, what do you think I can do to be better? And I always said, you got to ride past a certain edge at points. And Nick always said he likes where he's at. He likes to be comfortable. He doesn't want to get hurt. He doesn't. And I think that we saw that. And I think he pushed past that point and he was comfortable with it. And he felt good. And I'm really, really, really happy to see him up front like that. And I mean, just seeing him come off that track in the second place and just the vibes of him and his family and everything. It was awesome to see Nick up in second place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the confidence is going to do wonders for Nick. It's so hard to judge anyone completely off of Daytona. It's a different beast in its own.
Yep.
And I think but just the confidence is something that Nick needs. Not that I think he lacks confidence in himself, but you guys know, we've all raced. Like, once you get onto a high, it almost becomes easier to repeat. We've seen Nick podium, 2 years ago, I think. And then it just seemed like he couldn't repeat it. And when you come off of that day, not even just in the main event, but just his day in general, I think it's going to give him the extra boost that he needs. We didn't get to see the performance that we kind of thought we were going to see out of Bryce Ford. We didn't get to see the performance out of Jeffrey Rastrelli. Those guys both, Jeffrey crashing in the first turn, Bryce Ford with issues. So,
yep.
But I think confidence is going to be everything for Nick Gennusa right now.
Yeah, Logan, I feel like when it becomes expectation, that's when you can see it shift in a guy. Instead of hoping, this is the day you're going to get back on the podium, if you can have it, become, hey, I expect to be on the podium, which is probably a great way to start the season for Nick. That could be dangerous for the rest of the guys.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's coming off a long season or a long preseason training by himself. So like he said on podium, he wasn't sure where he was going to stack up. And before the season, we weren't talking about Nick getting on podium. We were talking about Bryce Ford. We were talking about Max. We were talking about Brandon and Jeffrey. Mm-hmm. So for Nick to come out and not only perform without that confidence, because coming into the day, I don't think he had the confidence to beat those guys. Mm-hmm. For him to get second, and top all of those guys who are expected to beat him, I'm sure that's going to just propel him towards the next race.
And it didn't look like a flash in the pan. It was kind of all day. I mean, he was consistently really, really good all day. So that was cool to see. Congrats to him. Gennusa, never really had to battle anybody. It didn't seem like in the main event there, he was kind of in no man's land. That was the direct opposite for third and the final podium spot. It started as a 3-way battle between Wesley, Max, and Brandon Hogue. Brandon actually got by both of those guys and then got stuck in a berm, and then it turned into a 2-man battle between Wesley and rookie Max Lindquist. And all I could think of was Casey saying on the season preview podcast, if Max runs it up on Wesley Wolfe, he's gonna plow into him, and I'm pretty sure he might have done so.
They plowed each other at least 100 times.
I know.
At one point, Brandon Hogue passed both of them, split them down the middle with his feet up over his head.
Right.
Those guys were just going for it. And like Max is like, I got arm pumped because we hit each other so many times so hard. But good for Max. Like, he's stuck in there with those guys. And, Brandon's no slouch. Wesley's no slouch. And, these guys have been racing the pro class for a few years now. And, I mean, Max lived up to the hype this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Max, and he didn't just, he could have settled for fourth, I feel like, and just, been pumped on the day. And man, he gave Wesley all he could handle and made the pass a few times and made a serious run on the last lap for that final podium spot. The kid is simply incredible. Like, he Casey, you said that he was gonna, push for podiums this season. I wasn't necessarily. I mean, I'm totally part of the fan club, and I don't know if I was on board with that yet, but I'm on board with it now. I can't believe that was that kid's first pro race. That's incredible.
He actually blew a berm on the last lap.
Yes.
And I talked to him after the race, and he's like, I had it all picked out. He's like, I was going to slam him in the last corner, and then we were going to double, and he would have had no chance to get back around me. So just crazy. I was like, man, like it would have been cool for him to set that record and get a, pro podium on his rookie debut. Mm-hmm. But I really think it come down to his performance was because I went over to him and just told him flat out, like, look, I picked you on my fantasy team. There's no bullshit here. Like, it's serious and you have to perform. And like, even after the race, he came over and he's like, hey, did I let you down on the fantasy team? I said, no, you're my top finisher. So we're doing pretty good.
What about anybody else got anything to say about Max? I mean, incredible.
I think
incredible ride.
Yeah. Amazing performance. I don't see much talk about Max right now. I have plans of obviously posting stuff, but good ride, Max. Awesome ride. Last lap you almost slowed it on that berm. You went over and you were stuck, but I'm glad you got out of there. Another thing is Vince Merman just got out of the hospital. If anyone didn't know that, he had a crazy, I guess, hematoma or something that needed to be cut open, and I no one's talked about that just in general, and I'm glad that he's, I don't think a lot of people even knew he was hurt. So I'm glad that he just got out today. He was texting me, and good for you, Vince. And I hope you heal up, and I hope we see you in Texas.
Yeah, I heard about that. I knew he was hurt, and I heard a couple people say, that it could have been like it was possibly pretty serious. And yeah, it sounded like he ripped like the artery in his inner thigh that like runs to your leg, and like had emergency surgery and all kinds of stuff. Like sounds like he's on the mend now. But yeah, I put that out there yesterday when he kind of shot me a message, and I mean, thankfully he's okay. Does anybody know what happened there? It happened in the heat race.
Yeah. He landed on Brandon. Like just kind of on the edge of him. I think it's the same jump that
exactly the same jump.
Yeah, the Joel thing and Michael thing went down on, and it's just another weird deal. And he flipped and he ruptured the artery in his thigh. But like, I didn't even know anything about that. And I was sitting there talking to him after the heat race, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" Like, because he was dazed. And I'm like, "What heat race were you in?" He's like, "I don't know." I'm like, somebody needs to get this kid checked out. And then he went in his camper and like cooled off. He come back out and he's sitting on Tim Detling's tailgate, and he had like real dark glasses on. I said, take your glasses off. And I looked him straight in the face, and I'm like, whoa, like his pupils were so dilated. I'm like, I turned around, I grabbed Tim. I said, someone needs to take that kid to the hospital. I said, I don't know what's going on with his leg, but that don't look humanly possible. And he's got a bad concussion. Like, and he ended up not having a concussion, but he doesn't remember anything, so I don't know how that works. I'm not a doctor, though.
With what else was going on with his body, obviously, must have just thrown him off that bad. Yeah, that's scary stuff. So, yeah, obviously, glad that he's doing okay there. That's scary. But, okay, so ultimately, Wesley Wolfe, who kept the news of him riding for Johnny Hale completely under wraps this offseason, I feel like, comes out in his first race with the team and earns his first career podium finish. Pretty awesome there. And that was also Johnny's first pro podium as a team owner as well. So congrats to JH, but awesome to see Wesley Wolfe. I feel like he was another guy, we weren't talking a ton about, talked about Wesley's gonna Wesley. But I feel like Wesley, gonna Wesley, I feel like he grabbed another gear there. Like he, that was impressive to get a podium finish there. I feel like, I feel like maybe that was a little off the radar and he slayed it.
Yeah, but he's still Wesley, because you don't know, like he could be third. He could win. Like the dude's fast. We've always said it. He's gonna do it, at some point. But no, he rode great, and those guys battled tooth and nail. And there's nothing you can take from it. At times, they were literally 3 wide in a 10-foot wide section of the track.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome ride for Wesley. We talked about it previously. You don't know how fast he's going. He always looks like he's the fastest guy on the track. More rev limiter than Justin Barcia himself. So, yeah, awesome job, Wesley. It was cool to see you on the podium. It's good ride, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, I wasn't expecting to see anything from Wesley. I wasn't even sure if he was still racing. Like, he was super under the radar. Had no idea what was going on. But I mean, he's a really cool kid. I mean, he makes everybody laugh at the track. So it was awesome to see him get up on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, recently I was on the Split Line Off-Road podcast, and they said, "Hey, is Wesley Wolfe racing?" And I'm like, because it's a GNCC podcast, and primarily, and I'm like, "Yeah, I think so. I think so." And now he grabs a podium at the opener. So yeah, he killed it. And to just wrap up the Max Lindquist talk, we knew he was going to be good, but I think I was still more impressed than I anticipated. Like I said before, I mean, 4th in his pro debut, just like Bryce Ford a season ago. And I think, he was just as advertised, but I think his speed was even more than I expected, at least for me. I mean, I came away crazy impressed with his 1 lap speed. We knew he was going to be consistent, top 5 in the mix and all those things, strong at the end of the races. But to think that was his first race as a pro, and to have his speed right there as a 17-year-old kid, sky's the limit for him for sure.
Yeah, I think that we summed him up pretty good.
All right,
doing it.
All right, Brandon Hogue, he ended up 5th on the day. Great result for Brandon after injury, ended his season prematurely last year, so it was a good return to racing for him. And until lap 10, it looked like he was maybe going to be the guy to inherit that 3rd place podium spot, but he stuck it in a berm, and something happened. It looked like maybe he ran out of steam, got out of touch with with Max and Wesley there, and sounded like maybe he was battling something mechanically as well. But to get out of there with a top 5 finish, and there's a number of riders that found themselves landing on their head and all kinds of other stuff going on in that main event there. For Brandon to come out of Daytona with the top 5, I feel like he'd probably take that. So some of you guys probably talked to him. Got to feel like he's feeling pretty decent after that race there.
He's pretty hard on himself. If anyone knows Brandon, he's he's never, he's a top guy, and he won't settle for less. I wish he would be a little less hard on himself, stop beating himself up mentally over certain things. But yeah, I mean, the first thing he did at Decker training facility still is he went out and did a couple hour road bike ride. Like the day after Daytona, he's beating himself up, and I want him to know, like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you're a top contender, bud, and you'll be up there, and just give it time and take it easy and be smart, like, all these other guys have for years. And you don't have years of experience like they do, and it'll come one day. And he's a great rider, and it's still a great ride for him. I know he's not happy about it, but he'll be up there someday.
Yeah, I mean, Gloop summed it up pretty good. Brandon's incredibly hard on himself, and almost to the point where it mentally it sets him back. I mean, he's in great physical shape. Like, he has the endurance to go the whole time. And I think he kind of expected just to kind of blow by maybe the guys he was racing against and be able to check out on them. And they were kind of matching his pace. And maybe that kind of got to him. I know he said he pumped up a little bit. But it's Daytona. And, we're going to go to the next round, and he's going to be just fine. And, it's kind of exactly what Gloop said. Like, dude, chill. You're going to be okay.
Right. And then as we move on to the rest of the races there, Bryce Ford suffered a mechanical issue, obviously, in the heat, like we talked about. Suffered another one at the start of the main. He posted a picture on his social media of the guys, kind of racing into the first corner. He's still back at the starting gate. He kind of had to watch everybody race into the first corner there, but he salvaged the 6th on the day. So considering how everything went, I would assume obviously wasn't happy. But to get out of there unscathed, and I guess with 6th place points, could have been worse. And he's going to be out for blood on Texas soil at Three Palms about a month from now. We saw some good things from him last year, and I got to believe he's going to be looking for the win or something like it at Three Palms next month.
Yeah, Bryce will be rolling at Three Palms for sure. I know he had, if you saw, he went in that wall wide open and it kind of like looked like he stalled it, but he had a clutch issue in this heat race. And then I don't know what happened on the gate, but I think he bumped the gate, so he was late off the line.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he was rolling through the pack, and I mean, Three Palms, we're going to see him up front for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if it was whether it was just a new clutch that wasn't broke in or whatever the case may be. I mean, they said that it was another clutch issue in the main event there, but yeah, I saw him hit the gate. Just didn't know if that was if there was something faulty in that clutch there, or if it was just not broken clutch or whatever with that. But yeah, for Bryce, it was a solid at least salvage mode day for him there. And Jeffrey too. I mean, Jeffrey, flipped his quad right side up after the first corner incident there and salvaged 7th place in points. On paper, obviously doesn't want to be 7th. We've been kind of harping on the Renaissance year for him and all these things, but for him to race up to 7th after what happened in the first corner, I got to believe that Jeffrey's obviously not going to be happy with that, but good way to salvage some stuff. What was the vibes like after the race, Casey? I feel like, Jeffrey's head has been in a good spot, and I'm hoping that he's still, feeling like he's going for podiums when we get to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, all day he felt like, when he blew the berm in the heat race, he felt like he gave away the heat race win. And then, obviously flipping in the first turn and in the main event and riding, I told him, I said, I felt like you rode a good pace the whole time. Like your lap times didn't drop off drastically. You stayed intense. You worked your way through. And, Bryce, hit the gate, clutch issue or whatever it was. And then, got off the gate while Bryce passed Jeffrey while he was still flipping his bike back over, and Cody was still, all that stuff was going on. So, he finished right there with Bryce in a sense. And so he wasn't happy with 7th. He's like, I just rode my butt off to come through the pack and just never gave up. Just, you could tell he was on a mission to try to come through the pack, and to end up 7th, he was disappointed in that just because he felt like he rode hard enough to maybe end up with a top 5, but there you got 7-8 guys. If you're rolled over in the first turn, there's the chance of getting up there. 7th is pretty much where you're gonna be able to get up there.
Yeah,
unless you're we've seen Chad come all the way back to 2nd and stuff like that before, but I think those days are numbered. Even with Chad or Joel, if something goes on, these guys are really up the pace now.
Yeah, I feel like you're exactly right. I mean, they weren't doing that in this group of riders, this talent pool. So, yeah, good ride for Jeffrey. I'm hoping we can see him, up there soon. So we asked these guys, Logan, on the last episode, how soon we would, see Jeffrey on the podium. So I'll ask you. We've seen him race now. We've seen his speed. I thought he looked like, riding wise, I thought he was riding really well at Daytona. How soon do you expect us to see Jeffrey on the podium at one of these things?
I'd say at least in the first half of the season. If Jeffrey he was in a good place on that start, probably better than we've seen him on a start all last year.
Honestly.
And if he wouldn't have gotten flipped, he would have been on the podium, I think, as long as he didn't make any mistakes. So I think he's in a very good position to make this one of a comeback season and one of the best seasons he's ever had in the pro class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I feel like for him, especially kind of reading the lines, by what he's saying in his posts and stuff, he feels like that one got away from him because he had a good start, good hole shot, and he knows what that could have led to. So I agree. And like I said on the last episode, so many people want to see him have a good day like that, be out front. So excited to see Jeffrey get back up there. And I want to cover the rest of the riders here as we kind of finish this thing up. Michael Allred, who we talked about, he finished 8th on the day. I'm hoping that Mike can find a way to not let anything overshadow this too much, because that's a killer finish and he should be proud of that. Logan Stanfield finished ninth on the day. Vitek, the Polish rider, down in the first corner, comes back to finish 10th, top 10 ride for him. Made a last corner pass for the top 10, I believe. So that was killer. Michael Perkins ended up 11th, Cesar Jimenez 12th, Patrick Chiarini, the Italian rider. I think he's done now in the States, as far as I know, from what Chad said. He ends up 13th. I think that would have liked to have seen him without an incident in the first corner there, because I feel like he could have been a top 10 rider. Know a lot of people had him picked for their fantasy stuff. Ty Hudson ended up 14th. Joel Hetrick ended up 15th with the incident that happened there. Cody Ford was involved in that first corner wreck. I think he took a pretty good lick. So he ends up getting scored 16th. I think he just rolled across the finish line on the last lap for points. And Vince Merman, we talked about him. He was the one additional rider there, got hurt in the heat. Thankfully, he's doing okay. Sounds like he's going to be okay and back on the mend and everything, but pretty scary situation there. So with round one in the books, I want to ask you guys, kind of go down the list here, maybe what you learned or what your biggest takeaway was from Daytona. What's the thing that's kind of stuck in your memory that, you're going to remember from this race, whether it be now or when you think back to, this event, maybe years down the road, but it's a memorable one. It was a crazy one. So Logan, I'll start with you on this. What's your biggest takeaway from round one of 2021?
Biggest takeaway. The biggest thing that I've seen, maybe not that it's just, I've noticed that this year is a big year. I don't know if it's the Yamaha switch. I don't know if it's because Thomas was retired and everybody sees that open spot on the podium. I don't know what it is, but I feel like the class from first through the entire class, there was intense battles. There was a lot of heart out on the racetrack through the entire class, not just like first and second battling and then maybe a fifth place battle. It was through the entire pack. There were intense battles through the entire race, and I'm excited to see how that plays out on the bigger national tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I feel like it was like we got a little tease to what's going to happen the rest of the season here. So, Gloop, what about you? What's your biggest takeaway, or what'd you learn at Daytona? What stands out to you?
Honest opinion, realistically, I think Daytona is a little bit too dangerous for quads at this point. If something isn't changed up or people start caring a little bit more, I don't see the point in going back. And I know I'm going to get in trouble for this by something, somehow, some way, but a lot of people get hurt there, a lot of people, and it's usually on the ATV side of things. And not just because it's Joel this year and Vince got hurt, and it's a sketchy place. It's a sketchy place to have quads on, and obviously we have a great track builder and there's a lot of good people behind it, but to start off there and to not kind of feel the love from people involved in it, I just don't think that we should go back there. And I think we should stick to outdoors, considering that that's a Supercross, the nationals, where people can not have to worry about getting into lappers, not have to worry about bumping and grinding, for a whole 20 minutes. And other than that negative note, I guess you can say, or real opinion, like the field this year is stacked. With Thomas out, that third place position is wide open, as well as let's split the difference between Joel and Chad. Some motos, let's get guys up there in front and second and third, and it's going to be a good season, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, can't wait. Gloop, before we pass by that, is it starting to feel at Daytona like quads are the sideshow, or what are you referencing there?
It's just a lot of money, and it's for the racers, not for me. Obviously, I get help and get in there and park and all that stuff. But it just doesn't seem like it feels like we're there to fill some kind of something. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it matters anymore. And I wish we would go to places that care about having us.
Yeah, no, I think I didn't want to let it pass by without at least getting a comment on it because, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, you want to go to places that like having you, and I wonder, there's the mystique of going to Daytona, right? Like you can say we race at Daytona, which is awesome, but it was awesome when we had the quad day and all those quad fans and people in the crowd was stacked and it was standing room only for quad stuff and whatever. And now, I mean, I just don't know how much. I love that the quads are there and everything. Like, it's great. It's great that the quads get to race at Daytona. Just don't know that it makes that much sense.
Yeah. And everything there, I mean, this is my opinion and I'm going to get in trouble some way. I mean, it is what it is, but everything there this year was an extra 3 steps over extra 2 steps that it's been years previously. Just getting out of the place, everyone in there was locked in by 3 or 4 different gates for what reasoning, I don't know. COVID, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But everything this year just didn't seem right. And I didn't even get a shower this year because the shower houses are closed. Well, you can go to the bathroom, but you can't shower, so
sure.
Either way, everything this year was kind of just a pain for me in general. And that's my opinion. I'm allowed to have it if anyone, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see the point in going back there. If we're not appreciated or if we're not highlighting some kind of talents, that track is very tight for quads to be on. 2 quads wide's just about enough there, So
yeah. Amen to that.
It's just dangerous.
Yeah. What about you, Casey? What's your biggest takeaway? What'd you learn? How are you going to remember Daytona 2021?
I'm kind of glad Gloop brought that in instead of me bringing that in because I agree on multiple points that Gloop made about the track. I think Randy Poulter did a great job. Like his prep in between, like when the quads would come on the track, they did a great job with that. I didn't experience so much like the showers being closed or stuff like that. Like I had a hotel, so it's a little bit different, but I did experience like when you're trying to get out of the place, it was a little awkward this year where usually you can kind of streamline out of there. It'd take you about 20 minutes to get out of the place. The narrowness of the track, and that's not Randy Poulter's fault. He's only dealt so much real estate, was probably the biggest complaint that I had about the track. And it's just sketchy. I mean, I agree with Gloop there. Like it's, the vibe's so cool. We're parking on asphalt. Like I enjoy that so much. The parking could be 10 times better than it is in a sense, like because we only had 13, 14 rigs there. So we could have tightened it up and made it more of a Supercross paddock feel. But I mean, whatever. We're critiquing little things. If we didn't go back, it wouldn't necessarily hurt my feelings. So I can agree with that. The thing that I take away is I feel like kind of what Logan said too is the class is stacked, and I'm excited to see different guys in different positions every single weekend. Like sometimes we fall into a rut or we feel like it's stagnant. I don't think we're going to have that this year. I think we know we have Chad and Joel are obvious players, but I think there's other guys that are right there. And again, like we're going to beat the dead horse, like that 3rd place spot. It's still wide open in my eyes.
No, I agree. I think that it's going to be really exciting. I don't think that you can just slot these guys into, a given position and know exactly where they're going to finish on a given weekend. So that part is exciting. Gonna wrap things up. This is kind of the last question that I want to shoot over to you guys. So Joel finds himself 19 points down, whole season's ahead of us, basically, the entire thing, obviously. The best man's going to win this title no matter what. It doesn't matter, I don't think, what happened at this first race. And we're in for a treat. I think it sets up, it sets the table for a great, great show for us fans. Joel looks ridiculous on the Yamaha. Chad has this points lead at this point. So it's going to be a incredible summer of racing. Gloop and Casey, both of you guys picked Joel for this title. Are you guys any more or less confident after seeing him rip at Daytona?
More.
That's the answer I expected. Yeah.
Totally confident in his performance this year. He looked awesome, phenomenal.
What about you,
Yeah,
Casey?
I mean, pretty much. I've always had the immense amount of confidence in Joel. So that's obviously my sure pick always. And he, I got to see him. I mean, I was with him at Mesa down in Florida for 4 days the week before the race and watched him ride, obviously, lots and lots of laps. And I was like, wow, like he's fast. Chad rode. I'm like, okay, Chad's fast. Jeffrey rode. Jeffrey's fast. All right. We go to a place on Friday where it's just him and Jeffrey, and they're breaking race bikes, and he uncorked it. And I was like, I just got chills. Like, it was insane. Like, Jeffrey was flat out flying, and Joe was still like 2/10, 3/10 faster a lap on a 47-second lap time track. And I'm just like, oh, wow. It was a different level than what I've seen him ride at all week.
Oh, wow. Okay. So yeah, you guys are, and that's, again, that's the answer I expected there. Logan, who's your title pick? You get the advantage of, seeing where the points are now, watching this first race. Cause we didn't get to talk to you on the last episode. Who's your title pick?
I'm going for Joel too. Everybody loves a comeback story, and Joel's had a mistake at Daytona before and has won the championship before. So I think he's in a better position ever than he has this year, even though the cars may not have played in his favor at Daytona.
Man, can't wait to watch how this summer plays out. Guys, that's going to do it. We'll, we have some riders coming up next. Conversations with Chad Wienen, Nick Gennusa, and Max Lindquist are coming up. Want to congratulate all 8 riders who tied for the win in the opening round of Digging Deep ATV MX Fantasy. Those players had a team of Chad Wienen, Nick Gennusa, Max Lindquist, and Michael Allred. So congrats to those guys. There will be some tier kind of, fluctuation at this point. You can see that if you go look, at the app or the website now. But yeah, it's not too late also to join us at atvfantasy.com. We had a lot of fun. And yeah, for you guys that are playing, I know Logan and Casey, you guys are, I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. I know that the results were topsy-turvy. Maybe it wasn't that impressive for you guys that way, but I got a bunch of messages from people saying that, kind of my hope for it was kind of coming true for them. They weren't just watching the battle at the front. They were keeping tabs on everybody because, they were forced to pick riders throughout the class for their team.
Yeah. I mean, I've made my fantasy thing pretty clear. I'm terrible at it, but
did you have fun?
Enjoy.
Casey? Did you have fun?
Well, the bad part is, like, at one point, I think I would probably have the clear lead. If Brandon Hogue would end up 4th and Max Lindquist 5th and Michael Allred 8th,
honestly, yeah,
and Joel 1, no one would have touched me. But it didn't go that way. So no, absolutely fun, and that's why, like, as soon as you mentioned it to me when we talked, I was just like, yeah, like, I'm in. I'll do it. So I hope, hey, Joel's down some points. I'm down some points. If you didn't sign up last weekend, like, let's do it together and let's make a comeback to this thing.
Hey, the cool thing is that there's enough people playing that you can be mid-pack and you're 93rd. Like, that's sick. Like, the fact that we had enough people playing for that kind of competition, I feel like that's pretty cool. And honestly, the way that it went, because obviously we're giving out awards and prizes and stuff for, weekly and then, season ending. Well, with Joel throwing us a curveball at the beginning of the year here, it could keep things tight throughout. So it could be pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And keep rubbing it in.
Logan, did you have fun?
Yeah, it's always so much fun. Even with the Supercross, it's just a different experience watching the racing when you're actually involved in it like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys playing. I appreciate everybody playing. It was a lot of fun, guys. I've taken enough of your time tonight. I can't thank you enough for for joining me, taking the time to cover everything that happened here. Again, I feel like we covered some things that needed to be covered, put some planting of some seeds on some stuff for some guys there. And just trying to preach the positive message of ATV racing to people. And, want to just thank you guys for taking the time to help cover everything with me. I feel like we couldn't have had any three people that were more plugged in, more knowledgeable, more in tune with what's going on. So I appreciate all of your time.
Hey, thanks for having us, Cody, and thanks for doing what you do. It's our outlet to be able to get the word out there and at least our opinions.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Cody. And shameless plug, everybody watch that recap from ATV Motocross on their Facebook and YouTube channel, and you guys can see all the action from Daytona. And thanks for having me on again.
The ride too, right?
Yeah, and check out the ride. I didn't want to shameless plug myself. So.
And awesome. Well, I can't thank you guys enough. And what about you, Logan? Do we have another installment of the stuff that you've been working on? Do we got a new one coming? Who's on the next one?
Not for Daytona, because it was going to be on the Fords, and they both had rough races. So it's going to be pushed back until Daytona or until Texas. I'm going to go out there probably a week early and get some behind the scenes stuff. But yeah. You see another episode coming soon.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. I was thinking maybe the Fords are going to be the next one, so that makes a lot of sense. Awesome, guys. Well, let's talk to some riders, the riders who headlined the action at Daytona, and I want to just thank you guys again for everything. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to the team, two-time champ Joel Hetrick, who dropped the biggest news of the offseason when he announced his move to CST Tires. The CST takeover has been gaining momentum over the past several seasons, and now Joel Hetrick and his Phoenix Racing teammate Jeffrey Rastrelli are the most recent additions. The Pulse MXR tire has helped lead riders like Thomas Brown to race wins and 3 consecutive Quad Cross of Nations titles, Nick Gennusa to the Pro Class podium, myself, Cody Jansen, as I rode my Pulse MXR fronts and white label soft compound rears to back-to-back national championships in the Junior 25 Plus class, and the most recent additions have us thinking a Pro Class national championship is on the horizon for CST tires. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics when compared to the competition. Visit shop.csttires.com to join the CST takeover today, or prepare to be beat by someone who did. Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Gennusa, myself, and so many others are believers in CST tires. Are you? CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. You already know we're Team Blue Crew here at the Digging Deep ATV MX podcast. Whether it's second all-time winningest, 7-time and reigning ATV MX Pro Class National Champion Chad Wienen, or 6-time and current XC1 Pro ATV GNCC National Champion Walker Fowler, it's clear the podium-proven Yamaha YFC 450R is the winning choice of sport ATVs. This unprecedented success for the YFC 450R, its unrivaled quality and performance, and the undeniable fact that Yamaha is the leading OEM supporter of ATV racing has created a Yamaha takeover within the sport quad market. Better yet, Yamaha's Blue Crew Racer Support Program is back and even stronger for 2021, meaning Yamaha riders are about to cash in on higher payouts and more prize opportunities, including a chance to win a brand new YFC 450R. For more info, head over to YamahaBlueCrew.com, follow them on social media at Yamaha Outdoors, and check out Yamaha's full proven off-road lineup at YamahaOutdoors.com today. For over 150 years, Valvoline has led the charge by being dedicated to constant improvement and innovation across all disciplines of racing. Valvoline has sponsored some of the greatest names in motorsports, and for the better part of a decade, I've been fortunate enough to be part of the historically great Team Valvoline. From my commuting vehicles to small engines, race quads, and everything in between, I trust nothing but Valvoline in all of my equipment. I've experienced increased function and durability, as well as a longer life expectancy thanks to Valvoline's array of products and lubricants. Since 1866, Valvoline has been focused on bettering your experience, whether on road, on track, and everywhere in between. Upgrade to Valvoline today and check them out at valvoline.com. SSI Decals is a name synonymous with ATV racing, synonymous with big-time success, and absolutely synonymous with the best-looking decals around. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. With what started as just making numbers and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the company quickly took off, and today you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker and designer now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as teams and riders racing GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and oh yeah, 6-time NHRA World Champion Clay Milliken. No project is too big or too small for SSI decals, making your identity stick with championship level graphics. Head over to SSIDecals.com today and then maybe call the doctor because things are about to get sick. And now, brought to you by Valvoline, the original motor oil. Check out their full line of products at Valvoline.com. I'm proud to introduce your 7-time AMA ATV Pro Class National Champion and now 5-time Daytona ATV Supercross winner. Fresh off his most recent victory, it's Mr. Chad Wienen. What's up, buddy? Thanks for jumping back on Digging Deep with us.
Cody, yeah, everything's going good, man. Just, coming off that 5th win and just a crazy weekend to say the least. Like a lot of things going on, and like the first race weekend with our baby girl being here, and we're back to racing in 2021, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I texted you this just the other day, but it feels just like yesterday that we were sitting down for the interview last year after your 4th win at Daytona. And I vividly remember this because it was right before COVID really hit. I mean, it was that same day that that Supercross and Indy had been canceled. The NCAA basketball tournament had been canceled. Baseball. I mean, I remember kind of telling you like what's going on in the world at the time. And it was the beginning of the end, basically. So it feels just like yesterday that we were talking about this stuff. You were showing me, your Daytona trophy on the Zoom call, and here we are again. It feels like the world's in such a different place, but here we are again, another year and another win for you to kick off the season.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like so long ago, but so soon. Just years past and gone already, and here we are getting started on our 2021 campaign for the championship, and we started off great. We got a whole shot and a win, and it was an intense battle like all the way through, and fireworks throughout the race. So it's a pretty wild event, and we're gonna break it down here, I guess, huh?
Yeah, for sure. I want to start by having you tell me about your off-season prep a little bit, because heading into this season, you're 36 years old now, and that's part of what intrigues me so much, because I feel like you've become you've taken your professionalism to another level. I feel like, you grow more conscious of, what your body needs with each passing year. You're always bettering your program in general. So this off season, did you tweak anything with your program, whether it be your body, your machine, what have you? And how were you feeling about your program going into the beginning of the season here?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for things to upgrade between my program and also, my taking care of my body. And I am 36 years old, and things don't get easier from there. So just trying to make sure that my body's running efficiently, and changing my diet to a plant-based diet, and that's really worked very well for me, and the way that I recover and the way that I feel and the energy every day. And it's tough because I don't think I'd be able to do it without my wife being on board with it, and my family as well. And obviously we have Lakin, he's eating a lot of different food. He's learning a lot, and we're not keeping him on a plant-based diet. We're letting him kind of pick and choose. And I know when I was younger, I didn't eat any of that stuff, and it's pretty wild, that that's all I'm eating now. So it's very humbling, but I'm enjoying it, and my body is it feels like I'm in my 20s again. So I'm recharged, and we're looking forward to a year.
Yeah, that's awesome. What was it like when you first switched over to plant-based? I mean, was it like, I sometimes when I think of that, you worry about maybe being low on energy, but that's obviously not the case.
No, like it's I guess I didn't really feel anything until, you know, it was probably about a month in, maybe a little bit less, and your body starts to get really used to, the foods that you're eating and like the reactions that you get to different foods that you would eat that weren't necessarily plant-based, and your body reacts very well where it's not being getting any sort of allergic reaction or any sort of reaction like that where your body is rejecting it, and that way your body's running efficiently. And it's been like a really big part of my program now. And I know I'm kind of like, man, like what if I would have done this back in my 20s? What place would I be at? But man, like it's fun learning things and bringing extra things to my program that are working well for me.
That's interesting. It's super interesting to hear about because that is how our bodies are meant to work. So yeah, super, super cool to hear about that. So let's transition over to Daytona a little bit. Okay. So you're sitting on the gate for the first time qualifier of the season. This is the first time that everybody's been together in 2021, all the riders. You look around and you see a pro class made up of nearly all Yamaha YFZ 450Rs. And all but 3 or 4, I guess. And I have to believe that deep down, you have to feel, a great deal of pride in that, because from day one with the YFZ, the new YFZ back in, what would that have been, started 2012, you were a major part of that whole thing. And you obviously have been throughout the decade, up till now. So tell me about that. You gotta feel some pride in that, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. And, it's been a long time coming. And, I actually joke around with a lot of people. I'm like, man, I'm very surprised how long it actually took, but man, like it's here now. And, there's also goods and bads, and it's great, for Yamaha as a brand, but also they're inviting, other manufacturers to come in and, be a part of that and help the progression of our sport and in competition, and just have that. And because without that, it's hard saying how long Yamaha will stay in it, but I know they're doing very, very well right now. And we're continuing our progression as a team, Wienen Motorsports, and with the YFZ 450R. And it's actually created quite a buzz. And this year they're kind of considering it more like an even spec racing, but yet it's we're still tweaking on these things a lot and getting the maximum out of them that we can. And we even found we've been able to update our machine again this year on certain things, and our program really showed it, coming out and getting that first whole shot of the year. And man, it felt good leading laps and grabbing that start. And it's just like, man, time qualifying it, I think one of the biggest things that took away from there is like it felt very light, like for me, like usually coming into the first race, there's usually a lot of pressure, and I actually felt like right at home and very relaxed. And looking down the line, you see a lot of like rookie and new faces, which is good for our sport as well. And knowing that there's a strong crop of riders coming up, and be challenging for these race wins and championships soon.
Yeah, I mean, the sport's in a good spot. Okay, so tell me about the track a little bit. I thought it looked fun. I know how racy it was, I guess. Tell me about that a little bit. How was the track?
The track is pretty good. There wasn't a lot of turns in it, so it kind of made like point and shoot and go. And there's a couple, like the sand section there a couple of them got kind of not necessarily too beat up, but they started to get just some good bumps in it and kind of chattery. So like suspension settings, like me going into that race, I raced a machine that I finished the season on last year.
Oh, okay.
Being that I was expecting, you know, our baby girl to come and not wanting to try and rush my building process of a new machine and hoping that I got enough time and testing on the machine. So I've been saving that till my, you know, my time off now until the next round. So
Okay.
Going into there, my settings were pretty soft for what we really wanted there for at Daytona. So I was making adjustments all day, and you know, we finally got a pretty good setting at the end of the day where we went into that main. But you know, the first practice was that the track was very fun. Just being, they had a couple different rhythms that you could do, but eventually everybody started doing the same one that was pretty dominant. But there's a couple jumps out of turns that were were like, they got challenging in the main. In the morning, they're pretty easy, but yeah, all in all, I think the track had those long straights and rhythms that if you were really getting your power to the ground, you could get up alongside of somebody and really make a move that way. So
okay. Yeah, I wanted to touch on the track there, get that info from you. And then, yeah, you know, talking about your day, your top 3 in qualifying, but people are freaking out. They're switching their fantasy picks around last minute. I'm over here like everybody just needs to pump the brakes. Chad's always there when it's, you know, time to go racing. You finished second in the heat. Yes, Joel was ripping, but man, I feel like, you know, you've done this so many times and there's something about Daytona with you. You know, I guess where I'm going with this is I have to feel like you were still in a good spot mentally, and you had to still feel pretty good, you know, about where you were at going into the main. And I just wanted to touch on maybe what you were thinking versus what everybody else was thinking before the main event started there.
Well, it kind of went down that way last year, you know, just Daytona is unique, and it, like, you don't have a lot of time on the track, and those heat races are only 6, and then we did 8 laps this year. So really I was still getting my setup throughout the, you know, all the way through into the main. Like I made an adjustment, you know, that last sight lap in the main event, you know. So I'm like, we were still progressing our machine, and man, I just knew that, you know, get a good enough qualifying position that I could have a good gate pick for that main, and then you know, just ride those consecutive laps and get that start. And you know, I know that, you know, the big thing with me, like, I'm very good at thinking about things on the go. Like I feel like I can slow down the time that on the track and the moments that I have enough time to think about when to go and when to chill. And you know, it's just like that's why I haven't been like snake bitten there, I believe. So I think that really helps me, and just riding that smooth race. And you know, it's just a crazy event, and I'm sure you can dive into that here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into the main event then. The main event rolls around, and right away, you know, things get nasty in the first corner there. You know, you made it through, thankfully. And it's kind of like, look who it is. It's you and Joel bumping and banging to take the early lead there and set the pace, you know, for another great battle. But already in that first or second corner, it seemed like, I mean, this sounds obvious, but there was some jostling there to make sure you were the guy at the front, you know, leading into that first lap.
Yeah, like, you know, I didn't even notice how much jarring and banging was going on in that first turn until I seen a photo later on that evening, and I was like, whoa, wow, like there was some carnage. And you know, coming through that turn, like I felt like a nudge on my left rear tire, and it actually like kicked out and it went into Jeffrey, and then that made my front end go into Jeffrey, and that was the last I seen him. And you know, luckily, you know, nobody got hurt in that situation. But man, I just, going into that race, I looked at that first turn when they had the track map, and I was like, oh man, like a 90-degree first turn and right into 2 bottleneck, you know, 180s. And I was like, it's gonna be hairy. So that's my goal every time I get out there, get through that first turn and let the racing go from there. And yeah, definitely like that messed up my line going into that first turn, and Joel got inside of me, and I just gave it the beans, and I was like, I need to hold on to the position, and I railed around the outside, and he tried to take that position from me, and we just kind of played like I just controlled the turn from there. I was kind of keeping my eye on him and seeing where he was going to go, and I kept riding next to him until he made his move, and I just rode him high, and then I controlled the lead from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you go on. I mean, you lead the first 8 laps there of the race. Before it looked like, and it was hard to see from some of the stuff I was seeing. You know, I was watching live feeds and other things trying to compose this footage, but and then obviously Gloop stuff came out in the recap video and stuff. But Joel, it looked like he kind of just launched off that single into the corner there, and you kind of tried to ward him off, and he ended up sneaking by in the next corner in that kind of switchback deal there. But I know, you know, with how competitive you are, and you kind of already touched on it in this conversation, but you told us last year at Daytona, you know, you're wanting to take the win if it's there, but most importantly, you know, you're wanting to get out of there in one piece. So it looked like, you know, you were ready to take what you could get. And, you know, it looked like you were kind of, okay, you know, I'm going to get out of here safe and sound, whatever it is. And then, you know, 4 laps to go, you know, and that approach obviously turns into both staying safe, but, you know, still getting the win. And obviously your record 5th victory at Daytona.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Joel was freaking ripping, and he was taking some risks that maybe I wasn't ready to. And he was riding wheels off that thing. And I was very thrown off, because I felt like we were going to have a pretty decent little edge going into this first race, and it was going to be a learning race for him. But he came in ready, and, you know, he showed that he has great pace. And man, just when he launched that roller, I very, very fortunate that I felt that and I heard him, because where he landed, I was going to be cutting into that line right there where I had been.
Okay.
And so it kind of spooked me. So I railed outside, and the 2 lines came together at the end, and I about hit a rider that was on the side of the track.
I saw that.
And I got back on, and I ran into the next turn, and he dove down below, and we kind of drag raced down that next turn or that next straightaway. And I tried to make an attempt on the following turn which, you know, now that I think about it, I really should have just followed in behind him, so I didn't miss that rhythm. And right there, I lost like almost 2 seconds just there. But once I started getting going, like there's about 2 laps before that he had that issue with Mike Allred and the other guys, that 3 in that pack. And, you know, I'm cruising up on these guys, and I see this pack of 3 riders that are going at it. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, like try to keep your pace and apply some pressure. And, you know, I was able to cut a second out of his lead going into that next lap. And
okay,
he came up on those guys, and I don't know, like it looked like Mike and those guys were riding for position, not really paying attention what was going on around them. And, you know, it's just like one of those risky deals that, you know, I don't necessarily take a risk of, you know, jumping next to a rider that might be in that situation racing against somebody. But, you know, looking at it, it looked like Mike did like fade over a little bit on him. But, you know, honestly, they're both at fault. You know, Joel is the one pushing the gas, and he's got to control the brakes. And, you know, it's just one of those things that it's a racing incident, and it stinks for both of them, because, you know, like Joel was on his way to a potential win, and Mike was on his way to a top 10 finish that, you know, he's been looking forward to. And I think it really took the air out of the sails of both of them. And, I'm glad that, Joel was able to get all right. And I was messaging him that night, just saying, hey, I hope you're doing all right. And, coming off the track, winning that way, like I was actually pretty bummed about it because that's not the way that I like to win. And I want to earn it. So that kind of just put me in my place, and, knowing that, get myself ready for Texas and focus on that, and, enjoy a little bit of downtime before we get started again.
Yeah, for sure. So touching on the incident there, I mean, I feel like it's a tough place for everybody involved, right? You obviously have to be looking for those blue flags and stuff, but it's a tough situation to be in. I've been there before, racing for position, having to get out of the way for, the leaders coming by, and then having the rider I'm, racing with snipe the position from me. So it's a tough position to be in. And it's tough for Joel too, right? Like he knows you're coming, and he's obviously, wanting to get through. And so it's tough for everybody involved there. But yeah, I mean, reading your body language, reading the stuff that you're saying, I mean, obviously you're not getting that thrill of victory, which is a shame. But I did think that it was really cool to hear you say from atop the podium, that you wished Joel well up there. You said you went on to, message him and stuff too. And, I feel like, you said you don't like winning like that. You obviously wanted to earn it. But for you, does it get any better than this? Because, you get out of there with the win, you're safe and sound, yet you still have a reason to feel like you have something to prove when the gate drops and at, Three Palms. And on top of all that, you have another month to get everything dialed in. It just sounds like, you're probably about right where you want to be right now.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, leaving there, it's like, yes, we did win. I wasn't the fastest guy, but, we brought it home and we're safe. And I have a month I don't think I have much to address. It's more of just getting out to the bigger tracks. And I feel like it's going to suit my machine and my style a lot better, where, he just made that tight track look, flowy for him. So it worked out really good for him. And I feel like we're going to have a pretty stellar season. And I know, like, for him, it really bums me out the most, because I don't want any, like, I don't think like excuse is a word, but I want it to be like as straight up as we can do. And we just hash it out and we go race, the rest of the season, and let the best man win. And it sucks because I have this lead, but there's going to be other guys out there too. They all want a piece of it. And I know that these other guys, we put the two of us into a bottle, but these other riders, and they're hungry. And I can tell, like, look at Nick Gennusa, like, he hung with us for just about half the race, and he's going to start doing this more often, and he's going to get used to that. And so, we're going to the Ford brothers' backyard, and look at how Bryce did there last year. I feel like we're going to have a battle that's not going to just be the two of us this year.
Agreed. I mean, it's going to be cool for you to return to, the track where you really put a stranglehold on last year's title. It should be good vibes in Texas, but yeah, I agree. I think all of us, I mean, you guys, and then us as fans, we're in for a heck of a year. It's kind of a clash of the same old contenders, plus a bunch of new and hungry young guns, like you said. And then guys, like Wesley's been around for a while. Nick's been around for a while now. It's like maybe they're hitting, kind of turning over a new leaf, grabbing another gear. And it should be really fun. It sure feels like the sport is in a really good, healthy place right now.
Yeah, for sure. And, it was so cool to see the excitement from those two guys when they got on the podium, because, like, for me, like, I've been able to do it for quite a while, and like, it's kind of a shame, because I expect myself to do that every weekend, and, the excitement is there, but I'm like already thinking about the next one. And these guys are living in the moment, and they're just having the time of their life, and they'll never forget it. And, you know, the streak that I've been able to have like through 12 on has been like not necessarily like forgotten, but there's a lot of races that you forget about because you're so used to being in that position.
Mhm.
So I need to try and slow down the speed, like on how fast life is going, and really enjoy the moments because they're not going to last forever. I'm 36 and I don't know how much longer I got, but I'm going to keep enjoying it and do this as long as I can. You know, I'm having a blast and feeling young still. And so let's get ourselves ready for Texas. And stepping back on your fantasy, I want to hear how everything went there. How was your team?
My team was pretty solid. I think I finished 11th or 12th out of just about 200 people. You know, I had you for the win. I was the only one on the preseason show that had you for the win. I had picked Brandon Hogue for my tier 2 rider. The leaders, we had 8 or 9 people that scored the perfect score. So you had to have Nick Gennusa there. I had Max, and Max was the pick that you needed in tier 3. And Michael Allred was the tier 4 pick, who I also had. So yeah, the only rider I missed was Brandon Hogue. But yeah, it was really good. I'm down 6 points, but I mean, the coolest thing is that I truly believe, you know, kind of the vision was to have people watching riders throughout the class. I feel like, you know, that's something that we're truly accomplishing right now. The tiers will flex some. So now, you know, Max will move up a tier, you know, so it won't be such a gimme pick. I feel like for tier 3. And I love the thought that, you know, there's guys in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th that people are focusing on because they're on their fantasy team. It's like fans and people have some invested interest in the races. And I got a ton of messages from people saying, you know what, you were right. I'm not just watching first and second now. I'm watching guys throughout the class. And, you know, the thought that, you know, I could have been in the pro class at one time and people are picking me for their fantasy team and watching me race because of it. Like, I feel like that's a pretty cool thing. And hopefully, you know, you and the other pro riders out there are the people that benefit from it the very most.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. And, you know, I had a couple riders come from Patrick Torini from Italy.
Yep.
And then Vitek, and I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but he's from Poland. But
yeah,
you know, it was pretty cool. Like, they've been here for like 3 weeks before the first round, and you know, those guys. I mean, you know, Patrick's come over here 3 years, and this is his first year running pro and getting his feet wet.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Vitek that came over with a gear bag. And
that's what I heard.
You know, that is rad. You know, like, I couldn't imagine going to a country and I was his only contact, you know, here. And, you know, I'm like, man, like, he got here and figuring out the place that he was staying and, you know, all that, like, while he just got here. I'm like, you're a madman. Like,
yeah, that's amazing. And they did well too. Like,
yeah.
I was really pumped for him. I was really proud. I thought they killed it.
Yeah, like, both of them got in the first turn crash.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think Vitek ended up a little bit better than Patrick, but like,
he ended up top 10, which is sick.
Yeah, which is great. And man, I feel like Patrick, like, just riding with him, I've been teaching him too, but
okay,
I feel like Patrick would have been like the better guy, but I didn't see what went on. And I know Patrick, I saw him today. He came in, they cleaned up their stuff, and he was holding his arm. He looked pretty sore,
okay,
but he said he's feeling all right, just a little beat up. But man, it's always cool to see the progression and guys coming from different countries to come here and, you know, living their dream. And
absolutely. What's the plan for those guys? Are they going to, I mean, are they here for the year, or are they here just for some races, or what's the scoop there?
So Vitek is planning to run the whole series.
Okay.
He'll have to fly back once throughout the year.
Okay.
Just the way the visa is. But Patrick is leaving Saturday, and he's going to be, this is kind of like a warm up to his season there in Italy, and I think he's run the French Championship and maybe European Championship.
Okay. Yeah, we were curious. We were getting some questions about, I mean, fantasy related or not. We were getting some questions on how long those guys were going to stay, but awesome stuff to have those guys out there, to have some international, kind of flavor in the pro class is huge for us. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, Chad, I want to congratulate you obviously again on yet another Daytona win. Love these conversations. Love hearing, hearing a little bit, into your program and stuff like that. I feel like you have so much knowledge to spread, and I love to hear from that. So, kind of new year, same old you. I will say though, I really dig the new font of the number 1. I like the work done by SSI there. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Like I told him this year that we needed to change it up, and, my buddy there, Josh, he really dug into his dictionary and his magic, and he brought out that number 1, and I was like, yes, that's perfect.
I like it.
And yeah, so I was digging that, and man, just the way they crushed the kit this year, and we got something pretty cool coming for Texas as well. And
okay,
so be on the lookout for that. And obviously I want to give a shout out to Max Lindquist on his rookie debut on that 4th place, and I spent a lot of time with this kid, and he's a real deal, and I'm pretty excited for his year, and I think he took a pretty good leap forward and learned a lot that first round.
He killed it. We got him coming up on the show, and yeah, I'd love that kid. He's the best. And I mean, Chad, I had high expectations. You and I are both definitely members of the fan club there, but I think he still impressed me. I think he still managed to impress me. I feel like his speed was better than I thought it would be. I knew he was going to be consistent. I knew he'd be in that top 5 mix, but man, I still think he managed to impress me. And to think that he's 17 years old, gosh, the leg up that he has on some of the, on just, it's crazy. I mean, the future is so bright, and he's such a great kid. I mean, the head that he has on his shoulders is incredible. So whatever he decides to do in life, after racing, whatever, I mean, he's going to be successful at whatever he does.
Yeah. I mean, it's silly that I'm almost twice his age. So.
Yeah.
And he's already going fast.
Yeah. Well, he was like on 65 like 5 years ago. So that's the crazy part. But Chad, I can't thank you enough for joining me. And it's always an honor to have you join us. I can't thank you enough for taking the time. And hopefully you're enjoying this win a little bit. It's always fun to talk about good days at the races. And we want to see you enjoy it a little bit too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And man, just very cool. Had a lot of friends and family came down for the race, and we had 14 people staying in our house down here in a 3-bedroom house. So like we're trying to get as many people as we can and enjoy the moment with everybody. And we're just we're loving life right now. And the first win with my baby girl here, and Lakin has really taken a liking to watching Papa race, and I dig that. So it's really cool. He's gonna hopefully remember some things. And
I like seeing those pictures of you guys riding off the podium together.
Yeah, like when I'm loading up my machine into my Sprinter, he's got to be there. He's got to ride up on the Sprinter with me and up on the ramps, and he's really liking it. And I'm treasuring these times.
That's awesome. We're happy for you, pal. Congrats.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And I heard news that Joel and Carly had a baby boy. So
I saw that too.
That's pretty cool, and give them a shout out because I know how special that is. And I'm glad they didn't have to go through having that during the race, or they're clear. So that's pretty good for them, and happy for their family. And we're looking forward to getting on the gate with them here soon.
Yeah, we can't wait for it too. Congrats to them. Congrats to you, Chad.
Hey, thank you, Cody.
That's Daytona winner Chad Wienen, brought to you by Valvoline. Great job, pal. We'll see you soon.
All right, thanks. See ya.
We are proud to be partnered with Numira Technologies. Since 2001, Numira has led the charge in the ATV and side-by-side market, covering more applications than anyone else in the industry. Nomura's advanced piston technology uses a NASA-exclusive aluminum alloy that helps to reduce expansion rates, that allows for tighter tolerances and leads to higher overall engine performance for your machine. For more information about Nomura's wide offerings of pistons, rings, gaskets, and industry-leading top-end repair kits, visit your local dealer or online at www.nomura.com. Nomura Technologies, pistons with an attitude. We are pleased to be partnered with Bronco ATV and UTV components. Bronco has been an industry leader in replacement hard parts and accessories for all makes and models for over 15 years. With a catalog that includes a full line of electrical components, engine internals like rods and cylinders, all the way down to suspension parts and bearing kits, Bronco is your hard part source for whatever you need for whatever you ride. Available exclusively through distributors around the world. Visit your local dealer or online at broncoatv.com. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, gas tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has the goodies that will improve your ride and make you salivate. We trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look, and you should too. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high quality and innovative parts to the market. Check them out today at fwcarbon.com.
All right, guys, I'm stoked to talk to this next guest because I think he's going to be pretty fired up. Brought to you by Gripped Gloves, gloves with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. Check them out at gripgloves.com and use discount code DIGGING20. Coming to you straight off the podium with a career best second place finish, it's Mr. Nick Gennusa. What's up, buddy? Thanks for jumping back on here with us.
Cody, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for, again, reaching out so quickly to me and getting me on here. It was cool because I think you had reached out to me that same day, right? I think it was Tuesday night. Yeah, that was pretty cool to see that too, and I was looking forward to it. I figured you'd do something, but it was cool to have it happen so quickly. So
hey, when you have a day like you did, when you have a ride like you did, people want to hear about it. Obviously me included. And all of us were wondering now with Thomas Brown being retired, right? Like there's all this talk about who's going to step up and claim that podium spot that he left behind as their own. And man, on Tuesday, there was no doubt that you were that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it wasn't just the main event where I got a second. I mean, if you look at the results the whole day, I think my worst part of my day was my first qualifier, which was a fourth.
Right.
I got fourth in the first qualifier, third in the second one. I edged out Chad. And I won the heat race. So Ford, I like to be real about stuff. Ford was definitely leading that, and it was early in the race. I think he broke in like the first lap or so. So it would have made it interesting, but I knew and felt that I had the speed, from qualifying. And the heat races, I always swore were 6 laps, and this year they were 8. So it was a little bit longer, which I actually liked. So if I got around Rastrelli a little quicker, then I might've had something for Ford. I would have just pushed, it's just a heat race, but I would like to see what I have. And, it was cool to get a win and technically a first win in a heat race, but I don't love it like that sometimes because I like to do it straight up. And I wanted to, I saw him out front and that's where I was going and I was going to push, but I don't want to take anything away from myself. It is what it is. This is racing. So.
Hey, to cross the finish line first in any kind of pro race is a pretty big deal. And like you said, I mean, that's where I was kind of going to go right off the bat here. I mean, I feel like for you, it had to feel so damn good to start the season off on such a positive note. We all know about some of the frustrations of the past few seasons with your starts and whatnot, but on Tuesday, from start to finish, kind of like you were saying, it was a success. You qualified super well. You came out, you win that heat race, no matter what the storyline is, you win the heat race, cross the finish line first, and you put that thing on the box in the main, and it was really never in question, like whatsoever. It seemed like, it was good vibes for you. And you were like part of that very, very, very elite lead pack from the very beginning. So for you and your crew, I mean, that had to be huge.
Yeah. I didn't really pay attention to, I guess, the other riders, when I'll be honest with you, I didn't even really see the crash in the first turn, and I was side by side with those guys, but I wasn't even watching. So I really didn't know what happened to Ford. I didn't know what happened to Rastrelli and whoever else until the race was over. But I I go back to the gate pick, and there were so many things that day. And the start was good, but I lined up where I was. I think it could be better. I mean, I could rattle off a lot of things. I think I feel like I got so much to say right now, but I feel like that race day in specific, I don't know. I feel like I've rode like that so many times, and just I feel like I've gotten unlucky. But again, you put yourself in those situations, and I just was so on it all day, and any little issue I had, I didn't let it bother me at all. And I came out in third of the second turn, and I seen the two guys in front of me, Joel and Chad. And man, I got to tell you, they're just like, as soon when I was in the second turn and I saw those guys in front of me, like there was not the slightest doubt in my head. Not 1% of me knew that I wasn't going to finish right there, or, first, second, third.
Yep.
This is mine. Like second turn, like this is mine. I don't care what it takes, who's behind me right now. Those guys, Ford, Rastrelli, whoever else wanted to take behind me, it was mine that day. And, I kind of asked myself after the race and the nerves calmed down, or like what gave me that confidence. And I don't know, man. I mean, I kind of look back at my last month and a half, which has been truly hell. And just because I don't post about it doesn't mean I don't have stuff going on. And I've had a lot of good things going on, but my battle this off season was the worst it's ever been. If people really knew how little that I rode before this first race, you'd be shocked, because if you count the hours on everybody's bikes, man, I'm telling you, it's less than half of everybody that I just raced. I can almost guarantee it. And I'm not going to say that I credit it to less riding, but I credit it more towards how much I wanted it, because I was held back from certain things. I mean, so we can go back. I stayed up north. I have a lot of things going on in my personal life right now, not anything bad, but I have this track and I'm trying to get it into an approved private riding place, and I'm building my house on the same property. And, truly, if you're not there for those things physically in the state, it'll never happen, and that stuff can never happen in the season. So it was my whole off season, and it went into the first race, but it's really why I never got a chance to go south. And I could have went south and went to Florida and trained, but I wouldn't have gotten the start of my house. I wouldn't have gotten more progress with how my track is coming along. The really stressful part was I had blown up a couple of motors, and that held me back for a little bit. Like I rode all through January, blew up a motor, and then it snowed. Man, I'm telling you, we have not gotten snow like this in so long. Every year I've gone away, I've spoke to my dad on the phone, and he's like, man, it's like in the 50s, you could train here all winter. And then we kind of agreed, hey, maybe next winter I'll stay at home. You save a lot of money by staying at home, a lot. Yeah, and I don't regret it one bit. I have this track now, I take advantage of it. But man, I did not ride for 3.5 weeks straight. And I was just like, the true like anger I had within and regret of like, I should have went south. I'm not ready for the first race. And I'm telling you, it was sheer grit the whole day that I had in me of how bad I wanted it because of all the obstacles I dealt with. And you saw me like a knucklehead posting on my social media, pushing snow off with a skid steer. And I remember one day it takes a long time, and it's a pain in the butt process. Mm-hmm. And I pushed it off one day, and I was planning to ride the next day, and it didn't even say it was going to snow. And this was like my meltdown of like my off season. I remember this, and this was only like 3 weeks ago. I'm telling you.
Okay. I was going to reference you pushing snow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and this is New Jersey, and it was 72 today outside 3 weeks later. Jeez. So yeah, it's crazy. So this was about 3 weeks ago, and I have like no riding in, like literally nothing, just gym workouts. I like, you could not get a break from the snow. I plow it off, snows the next day, plow it off, snows the next day. And I remember there was one day it was so bad, and I thought it was the last of the storm, and I did the whole thing. It took me 5 hours, and I went till dark. And then as I was getting back in my truck, it just came down again, this snow. and I driving back to my parents' house. Just I've never been so mad and just thought so many things to ride home, and I'm pretty cool about some things, and I can push some things off and, try to find the positivity. And I really just felt like I lost all hope, and I woke up at my parents and there was like another 5 or 6 inches on the ground. And man, I've been in the spot that I've been in for too long of 5th place. And I remember how hard it was to get up that day, where just like it was wall in front of me. And just the sheer like what am I doing? I'm not even right. I'm doing all this work so I can just put in a few laps. And I went back out that day and I worked on the track again, and I brought a quad and I rode later that day, but it sucked. Like riding in 30 degrees sucks.
Yes, it does.
I feel like I'm talking so long right now, but the pain of what I went through and rode there was a couple of days where I actually couldn't ride more than 3 laps because it was so cold, and I hate
can't feel your fingers. Yeah.
And I stopped because it was dangerous, because I couldn't move my fingers. They were locked.
Yeah.
I just locked.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
Club setups, this and that. But the pain of riding through the cold the whole winter was more painful than any race I've ever done in the heat, no matter what you're feeling in the heat and you're in a 20-minute moto at Loretta's. And it's not that it's physically harder, because you're breathing in cold air. Like, it's not going to be as deep as like Loretta's heat, you know what I mean? But like just the mental pain, I feel like just developed me, and I just had so much, I guess you could use the word grit, like I wanted it so bad coming into the first race to everybody that doubted me, and to show them that, I can ride by myself and I can give it all and still be there. And I'm glad, it worked out the way it did. Joel crashing is 100% not how I wanted it. I was more bummed than happy when I saw that, because I don't like to be handed a spot, but regardless, I was definitely going to be on the podium. So
for sure. I mean, that's my biggest takeaway. It doesn't really matter to me what fueled you. It's super interesting to hear, that you were fueled by all those things. Doesn't surprise me though, knowing enough about you, knowing, your inner drive and all those things. We also knew what would happen if you got a start like you did. We've been saying that for years. I mean, if you start up there, we knew that you'd finish up there. The biggest thing though, I mean, in the main, you were able to keep Chad and Joel in your sights for a super long time. And I guess that's what felt so Thomas Brown like to me, because maybe you weren't like directly like battling for the lead with those guys, but you were clearly a step ahead of everybody else. Like, you kept touch with those guys basically the entire race. And that feels like a major step in the right direction.
Man, I think I learned more in that 20 minutes than I did in the last 3 years.
Hey, like that. When's the last time that's ever happened to you?
Well, that's what I mean. I have no experience up front. Mm-hmm. I have the front guy's speed, but without the start. And like I said, my start was okay. I wasn't overly happy with my setup, even coming into race day. It was like, okay, it was good enough. I know a lot of things that I can improve on, but.
And you said you hadn't ridden that bike at all.
I rode it 2 times, and there was a lot of different parts on that. Like, if anybody knew how different that setup was than my race bike in the past and what I've been practicing on, you'd really be more shocked about that.
Sure.
But the race and keeping pace was it was interesting, because I don't want to say I was surprised, but I was a little surprised I was able to keep up and just have that speed, because I literally rode by myself for the 2 months.
So it was mental then. You just mentally pushed through it.
I just gave it everything I had, and every one of my practice days, you act like somebody's there. And I just like thought I was slow in the off season. And maybe it's just me starting to look at things different and getting more comfortable with that speed. But I had kept pace, and all I knew was when I was behind them, go as fast as you can. And I sprinted like as fast as I could. And I kept up with them for right about up to the halfway point. I made 1 or 2 little mistakes. where I maybe like slid out in a turn or went too sideways. I don't know, something along those lines. It'll come back to me eventually.
Okay, so mid race, lap 9, you're 5 seconds behind. That's amazing. I mean, talk about a gigantic step. Talk about a gigantic step for you.
Yeah, it definitely was. I've thought about that so much, and I have the speed, there's no question, but I want to be the guy that's going to hold that to the end. And like I said, I feel like I learned so much in that 20 minutes. And so I lost the pace a little bit. You know, I was a little tense because I literally haven't done anything like that. It's not that I was tired, but I definitely had a little arm pump, and I had looked back at one point, and I'm thinking like, man, we're like pretty far ahead.
Yeah, where is everybody?
I think I had like 12 seconds on fourth, and it was that very moment. And I don't want people to think that this was Nick Gennusa giving up, but it was at that very moment where I wanted to take back. I don't care how slow I look the rest of this race. I don't care what my lap times are. People could say what they want. That Nick Gennusa was in the 58s, 59s, and went to 101s. Talk everything you want. That was me 100% backing off, just trying to be smart, because last year I DNF'd this race. I had 17th coming into the season. I'll take this third all day because this is a long season. We got 9 races left. And I'm telling you, I think I went, and I don't want people to take this the wrong way, but that could have been one of the easiest races of my pro career, where I just got to start, row with those guys, put the pace on. I look back and I think I was trying like 75%. And it's no disrespect, but I gave it my all to put that gap on and try to just ride smart, save the bike, save the energy. I don't want to get too tight and make a stupid mistake and come off. And I was so content with the third just because of how grateful I was to be in third, because of how last year was. Man, I got 17th of that race last year. I DNF'd. I started in last in points.
Right, and to think about how, I mean, every local, every amateur rider will be able to probably relate to this too, but the difference that you feel as a rider when you start up front, obviously you're going to go with that lead pack. Like, that's an advantage, but it almost not that it's a disadvantage, but your mind works totally different when, like, the race can feel long when you're up front and then you see a gap and you're like, oh shit, like, I need to go 9 laps yet, you know? And typically for you, you're probably not paying any attention to the halfway flags, to how many laps are left, how many minutes we're in, whatever, because you're just trying to pass as many people as you can.
Yeah, it felt long, and not from the tired aspect, but from all the laps. And I'm like, man, just like, where's this halfway flag?
Mentally.
Because I just wanted it so bad. And I didn't want I wasn't worried about me, but you know, I don't want the bike to break, and not that I don't have trust in my bike, but anything can happen.
We all think that way though. Yeah.
You don't want to think that way, but it does happen. And at that point at the halfway race, I think I had my eyes on, because I was a section ahead. So I was coming out of a turn. I could see the guys coming at the next section. I really just watched fourth from there and wanted to keep that big gap. And I was watching who was in fourth. I didn't really care about Joel and Chad, like, go ahead, pull your lead, whatever. Yep. I was comfortable where I was, and I watched fourth, and I saw Brandon Hogue got in fourth, and he's definitely got some speed. So I put a little sprint back on, and for the 2 laps he was in fourth, and I think he made a mistake. He didn't gain at all, which I was like happy with. So I was like, okay, we have half the race left. Can he reel me in? And then I gave it those 2 laps, and he didn't gain anything. And, you know, I felt like I had a lot of speed on that track. And if those guys were close to me, I would have pushed till the end. But I feel like you got to know when to say when, and when to push, and when to step back, you know? And I feel like I made some good progress with that.
Of course. I mean, the way you executed it, I mean, you couldn't have, I don't know. If I was you, I feel like that it felt like a win. And I think you actually said that on the podium, like it felt like a win for you. So I want to ask you this question, because I want to ask somebody who's obviously, you know, podium contender, perennial, you know, top 5 guy. Do you look at anything differently, or do you find any extra motivation knowing Thomas is gone? Like not on race day or whatever, but like as you're training in the off season and all these things, like, does your mind go to, hey, like, that there's a podium spot that is clearly open for somebody's going to take it. I want to be that guy. Like, do you think of any of that?
You said exactly what I've thought the last 3 months.
Okay. Okay, good.
So yeah,
that's what I assumed.
There's not much more to elaborate on it, but Thomas, people can say what they want. It's easy for someone to talk behind the screen of a computer or phone and say, Nick's a 5th place guy, he'll never be better. Thomas is a 3rd place guy, he'll always be that. But people don't realize how hard that is to be that. And I don't think people realize how good actually Joel and Chad are. It's not that we're bad, if that, I don't want to say bad, but like those two in itself are so far ahead of everybody with their program and their riding. And Thomas was so good as well. And Thomas was so hard to beat. And he like really picked it up in the last year or two, because I know I was poking at him a couple of races and like, I think, 17 and maybe 1 or 2 and 18, but like 19 and 20, I don't even think I think I only beat him once in 2020 in a moto, but he was a tough one to beat. So I knew with him coming out, I would say it was a lot of motivation, because he was mostly the 3rd place guy. And I knew that, simply it was up for grabs, and I want to step up myself. And I would have, after this race, I thought about a lot with, what if Thomas was still in there? How, I felt so good on race day and I had the speed, I think him and I would have had a good battle. I'm not going to say I had him beat or he had me beat, but I think him and I would have had a good battle depending upon where we both started.
Agreed. I mean, you and I both know that if you would have been getting those kind of starts, I mean, this wouldn't have been your second podium. You'd have an array of them. If you started up there, your speed was never an issue for a lot of years now. Your speed was never an issue. It was just needing to get the starts. And it was so cool watching this race play out. And, we're, however many laps into this thing, and to see that you're only, 2, 3, 4 seconds down. And then, like I said, you look just like Thomas at that point. Like you're within, like you're within a couple seconds of the lead. And it was cool to see, because how many times have people come on this show and talked about if you could just get a start, So to see
it's
that
crazy, man, to run that pace, those two guys go so fast. And I watched a couple of videos, and I like really latched on for like the first 3 to 5 laps. Lost a little bit of ground. That's where I went to like 3 to 5 seconds, but we like left 4th, like
exactly
gone right away. And that was just so cool to see. Like I don't know, just like it was like in the tunnel, like it's like I really needed that. Like I can do this. I can, and and I feel like there would be a lot more where that came from, but you got to start up with those guys,
Yeah. And I didn't get to touch on this when you said it before, but I preach it to anybody that'll listen, that you guys are guys that would have, you guys meaning podium contenders. It just so happens for you guys that you're racing 2 of the baddest dudes to ever do it. Like they are 2 of the very best ever. You guys, like you would be somebody that would, be winning all kinds of races if it just wasn't for them.
I watched a lot of ATV racing, and they're absolutely the 2 greatest guys of this era. And I think, and no disrespect, absolutely, to any legend in the quad world that I've looked up to my whole life, but I feel like these 2 guys in general that we race right now, Joel and Chad, are the biggest killers this sport has ever seen. Like they are so insane of their skill level. I really have nothing but respect for both of them and learn a lot from both of them. I might not, we might not all see eye to eye on things, but they're very, very dialed in, if you will. And there's a lot to learn from them. They are just so dominant, but it's all touchable at one point. Eventually, you're not at the top forever, but it feels like those 2 have been up there forever.
Yeah. Since we were on mini quads, Chad's been doing it.
I want to poke at it more, and I think I can, and may have some good races and really start to believe I can. So
agreed. Yeah, I agreed. I mean, you get starts like that, and it's going to happen. You're gonna stay up there with those guys and run with them. And after you mentioned, me reaching out to you there on Tuesday after the races, and you said to me you messed up everybody's fantasy picks, and you said under promised, over deliver. And actually, I had said to somebody before Daytona, I said, hey, if it was like fantasy baseball, if it was like a fantasy baseball team where you were picking, the same riders for the entire year, you'd be a slam dunk lock, like stamp it, because, you're right in that mix every year. We've talked about it, so often, but I guess we shouldn't have overthought any of it, because you were part of the perfect picks for the fantasy league, and the winners of the league had you.
I think it was like one of the coolest things you did was starting that. And then people started tagging, everyone and putting their picks in. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm looking at these results with these picks like 3 weeks before the race. And I'm like, man, not a whole lot of people believe in me here. And I'm laughing about it now, but it's just like, I kind of just like pushed it off, because truly, Cody, like I didn't know how I was going to do coming into the first race. Like I rode by myself, but I learned a lot by myself. I learned a lot in the times where I was not all there mentally in the off season and just wanted to throw the towel. And I think I wanted it that much more and gave it that much more. And still I'm dealing with, certain things that hold me back that make me want it more. So I think it just, I wanted to stay quiet, and I still want to stay quiet, because I don't want to overpromise that it's going to be a podium every race. I think I have a good shot at it, but I'm not sure. There are very talented guys out there. None of them are slouches at all. But I do like that I messed up those picks.
Hey, and for me, I mean, it was obviously not at all lack of belief. It was, I mean, I don't want to harp on it, but it was the start thing, especially at Daytona. I knew it was the start's so important there. And my dad, he gets his picks in the night before the races or whatever, and he goes, yeah, Gennusa's got it, no problem, slam dunk. And I'm like, all right, well, he's one of the dudes. 8 or 9 people had the perfect combination. You were obviously in that perfect combination of riders that they had to pick. So it was awesome. And yeah, I think it is cool.
Perfect combinations. These like people pick the top 3 of Chad, me, and Wesley.
No. So there's 4 tiers, and you have to take a rider from each tier to make up your team. So basically you're betting on that rider beating the other riders in your tier. So the top tier just coming into the year, because we're trying to slot everybody in, it was obviously hard. And Gloop had actually poked fun at me, like, how many dudes did you piss off by putting them in a certain tier? Well, it was Chad, Joel, and Bryce were in the top tier, and you were with what would have been Wesley, Allen, if you would have been there, Hogue, I don't know who I'm missing, but yeah. So anyways, so the perfect combination was Chad, you, Max, and Allred. And the goal is to have everybody, you have to pick a rider from each tier for your team. So you have to watch dudes throughout the entire pro class. And ever since I started this kind of thing, the goal was to kind of try to give everybody exposure. And after I had been asked about fantasy more and more and more, and thought, well, we could test the waters and maybe pull it together, I thought, you know what, this fits right in line with what I'm trying to do, because obviously I was never where you are in the pro class, but to think that, I could have been picked for somebody's fantasy team, even though I was a 10th place guy, like, I think that that's kind of a cool thought. So, so yeah, I mean, we had damn near 200 people playing it, and it's cool. Like, I feel like, we're giving more coverage, and people are more fun. People are more invested in the racing. Like,
I love it.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you had started this podcast. It's really cool.
Yeah. So, Nick, I'm gonna ask you one more question before we get you out of here. Thanks for doing this. By the way, I love obviously having these conversations. And like I said to you before, I was excited to talk to you, just with a totally different feel, like totally different conversation, to bring you in here on nothing but a positive note. And then to hear all the stuff you had to overcome. This is awesome. So I want to talk about how huge it is to start start the season this way because, when you start off so well, I have to imagine, because you just spent a half hour talking to us about the unknown, about not knowing how you were going to, stack up, about the frustrations of being at home, all these things. And I have to imagine after you go out and do as well as you did, this has to have you thinking, man, I maybe I'm not going to be on the podium every single weekend, but I clearly expect to be on the podium every single weekend. And that change from, man, I hope I get a podium to I expect a podium. That's probably, a big change. And I feel like, you and I probably both know that you can talk things into existence. And when your mind changes to the point where you're expecting something, I think it can only create good results from here on out.
Yeah, I have a quick interesting story I could probably throw in on race day, and I didn't really and I think I'd only told my parents I did this, but it'd be cool to tell you and the people listen. But
sure,
I didn't really realize what I did until after I did it, and the confidence I had from the morning. I had a really good morning in qualifiers, and I won the heat race. So I'm gearing up for this main event in my RV, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm just looking at my shirt's good, hair good. I'm from Jersey. I'm always trying to look a little bit sharp. So,
right.
But in all seriousness, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and it's so crazy how it happened because I didn't realize what I did until after I did it. So I walk into the bathroom in the RV with my gear on. I went to the cabinet and I grabbed some hair gel, and I'm putting gel in my hair, just thinking like when I take my helmet off and I have a little bit of gel in it, it's going to look good on the podium. But I dead serious thought this way. Like I just had it in my head. Like I'm getting on this podium right now.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, I am on my way to the podium up there, and take it for what it is. Don't take it that it was so much of the hair gel and the look, but take it as the confidence I had. And man, I don't even know where it came from. It's just and then I thought about it after the race. I was like, man, I actually did that. And I was up there. Yeah, again, trying to look sharp, a little bit of hair gel I had it in my hair. So when I took my helmet off, I could just spike it and it was still looking sharp. But
it's just that subconscious confidence that you have.
What I mean with that, but it I didn't even overthink it. I just looked at myself I need a little bit something for the podium. And I was like, holy crap. That was just true sheer belief that wasn't overthought at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see that level of me come out of, I'm still trying to figure out where the hell it came from.
Well,
how well the day was going. I just knew it.
Yeah. And kind of a mental shift. So, yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're going to get you out of here on that note, pal. I can't wait to see what the season has in store for you. Obviously, again, just this optimism, this different sound in your voice, these different expectations, all that stuff is awesome to hear. And, sure feels like things are different in a great way for you here in 2021. So obviously, again, want to congratulate you on a career best day, a return to the podium. And as always, pal, I can't thank you enough for joining me to talk about it because, I feel like having you on here, some of the conversations we have are some of my favorite ones that I have on the podcast.
Yeah. And back to your question, starting the season with a second versus what I have had last year, I'm so grateful to just be where I am. That's where I would have just accepted the third because of what I dealt with last year. It felt like hell. So it should make things a lot easier. And if I could stay on the bike, good starts, no DNFs, I think I'm in for a good season. So I'd like to keep it at that.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what we're expecting at this point. And the black bike looks sick.
Oh yeah, dude, I love it.
It looks so good.
Meaner, and it stood out and made its way up there. So
I like it. I like it. That thing belongs on the podium. It looks like.
Yeah, the Black Hammer, I guess.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, that's gonna wrap it up here. And again, just congratulations and thanks so much for joining me.
I appreciate it, Cody. Thanks.
That's Nick Gennusa, brought to you by Gripped Gloves, gripgloves.com. Thanks again, pal. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Digging Deep ATV MX podcast is brought to you in part by DID and their range of championship-winning chains. Powered by technology, DID chains are designed to give you the greatest strength-to-weight ratio, making them the optimal chain for racing and giving you a championship-level edge. DID has been driving championship-winning race programs since 1933, chosen by champions such as Chad Wienen, Joel Hetrick, and myself, Cody Jansen. Champion above the rest is DID's 520 ATV2 chain, with those same design principles and materials being used throughout their entire line of products, including their on-road category as well. Pick up a DID chain today at your local dealer or reputable online e-tailer. DID, what drives you? The Digging Deep ATV MX podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes, a longtime supporter of ATV racing and the world leader in sintered brake technology. DP has been dominating the ATV world for decades, supporting the best four-wheeled racers on the planet. 2021's impressive lineup includes Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli of the Phoenix Racing Team, myself, Cody Jansen, and my back-to-back national championships, Baldwin Motorsports, Ford Brothers Racing, Nick Gennusa, Wesley Wolfe, and many more, including all of the top 14 GNCC Series pros, led by the champ Walker Fowler, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, Jared McClure, and Chris Borich. These top riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them on the top of the podium. Available at www.dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or message the show for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. 15 years into the brand's existence, Factory 43 is back with us and continuing to make huge waves in the ATV world. For the second consecutive season, Factory 43 is the official aluminum parts choice of the Phoenix Racing ATV team, providing their state-of-the-art Evo Nerf bars, MX-style front bumpers, and grab bars for some of the fastest riders on the planet. If you're in the market to upgrade your Nerf bars, bumpers, or grab bars, head over to factory43atv.com to see their full line of products available for all makes and models. Want to be just like Joel Hetrick and Jeffrey Rastrelli, riding with Factory 43's industry-leading products? Head over to factory43atv.com today. We are proud to be partnered with Gripped Gloves. Gripped is an ATV rider-owned and operated brand with the rider in mind and the goal of keeping costs affordable. The Michigan-based family operation recognizes riders' desire to showcase their identity. Owner David Payne's love for eccentric colorways and crazy patterns shows in his product, something not often found in the work of big manufacturers. Here to push stereotypes and limitations, Grip's drive is to produce a glove with cool colors and designs that won't break the bank. With comfort and quality as key motivators, the family affair is constantly working on the next more innovative and improved glove. Get a grip on life, join the Gripped movement, because no one wants a bland glove. Check them out today at grippedgloves.com, that's GRIPT gloves.com, and use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC has been supplying riders with aftermarket components from the industry's top brands for over a decade. With over 80,000 products in stock for your ATVs, UTVs, metric and HD motorcycles, dirt bikes, and snowmobiles, Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC can tend to all your power sports needs, from hard parts to riding gear. Bikes, Trikes, and Quads also offers hard-to-find used parts for your vintage dirt bike, ATV, three-wheeler, or snowmobile. Use discount code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders of $100 or more. We're grateful to have Bikes, Trikes, and Quads LLC digging deep with us. Thank you, BTQ LLC. Just like the sport of ATV motocross as a whole, our Digging Deep community is brought together by the love for racing that we all share. Our sport is compiled of many great people, and leading that charge is the Launderville family at Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. This racing-owned family business is a steel and concrete supplier serving the entire United States. Launderville Steel is a full-service steel supplier of new and surplus steel, aluminum, and stainless steel products, headlined by their 4130 chromoly tubing and plate used in the building of chassis for ATVs and UTVs, off-road truck racing, late model dirt and pro tractor pulling series, drag racing, and more. Launderville Steel loves their racing just as much as we do, but don't forget about their concrete division as well. With over 25 years of experience, the Concrete Division can supply everything you need to complete your next business or personal project. Their central Midwest location enables LSE to easily serve customers across the United States. For a quote, additional info, answers to more of your questions, or to talk a little racing, head over to LaundrevilleSteel.com or give them a call today. We are proud to be partnered with yet another racer-owned company. Thank you, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply. All right, guys, I'm here with our final guest of the night, brought to you by Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, your go-to for all your power sports needs, from hard parts to riding gear, plus use vintage parts. Use code ATVMX at www.btqllc.com for 10% off of orders $100 or more. It's raining Pro-Am champion, reigning amateur rider of the year, and now an AMA ATV Pro Class Top 5 finisher in his very first pro race. Put your hands together for Mr. Max Lindquist. What's up, buddy? Stoked to get you back on the show, especially after an unforgettable rookie debut.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cody. Thanks for always having me back on. And definitely stoked to be back here and get to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously always fun to talk about good days at the races. But I mean, for you, man, like, so you're 17 years old. And for most of those 17 years, you've been dreaming of and prepping for what happened on Tuesday. So take me through what it was like to finally be a pro, something that you wanted to do at the end of last season, but obviously you kind of weren't granted that ability. And you know, what was it like to share the track with the guys that you inevitably looked up to as your heroes? You probably still do. It had to be almost like a dream come true.
Oh, for sure. You kind of nailed it on the head. Just even with wanting to do it last year and not getting to, like, it made this off season feel like the longest time ever. So it was almost like such a relief finally getting to hit the gate, because the anticipation was just, it took so long. I was so glad to finally just get that first gate drop out of the way, because it relieves so much of that, like, nerves and the pressure and the what if factor. So yeah. And then, like you said, riding just to line up with all those guys and be like, man, like, we finally made it, you know, like, you dreamed of being on the gate for so long. So it was definitely a dream come true. And now, just get to do it every weekend. And that's just a really cool thought to me.
Yeah, it's obviously, I remember some of those emotions from making, you know, your debut like that. But then, I mean, for you to do as well as you did, it was pretty incredible. But I didn't realize this until I was prepping for this conversation, Max, but you probably never raced at Daytona, huh?
I had literally, last year was the first year I ever went as a spectator.
Okay.
So I have never raced Daytona. So that was a totally different atmosphere and thing for me. Like, I showed up and it was, it maybe wasn't exactly all what I was expecting. Just track and the whole, just how it's ran and everything, you know, it is nothing like a normal event for us.
Exactly. And I thought about that because it was never really a youth event at all. And at the beginning, it was an amateur event or whatever too. But you were never old enough. Like, you would have been in the youth classes still at that time. So I'm like, yeah, to have never done that, that's a hurdle in itself. Like, Daytona is obviously a big thing. You enter the bowl. It's like a town inside of there. Right. So that part's all crazy. Just the procedure's all a little different. And then, you know, it's a different kind of racetrack. It's not a national, you know, event ATV motocross track really. So to go through all that, and I didn't think about that until after the fact, but going in, I would have maybe thought a little more about you know, doing Daytona for the first time, because it is different. But at the same time, maybe it was good that you didn't even know what to expect. It was just, you were like a caged animal and just ready to go battle these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was, I'm almost glad, like, we just got it out of the way right away,
Sure.
Because it was a worry. Like, it was kind of like, what's this going to be? Like, you hear from everyone, you know, like, it's just this super tight, really hard race. And I was kind of glad just to go, and you know what, like, this is the first one, we got it over with. And I'd say we did pretty good at it. Now, you know, we get to go and get back on these big racetracks. And it's kind of like a relief to have that said and done with. And at the same time, you know, you get to say your pro debut is at Daytona. It's pretty cool too at the same time. So I'm definitely glad, I guess, how it all worked out.
Yeah, it was good, man. So take me through the start of your day. Where you referenced a little bit being nervous, but talk about your nerves coming in, because this is obviously, a whole new deal for you. And I assume, there had to be some nerves there, because this was you kind of realizing a lifelong goal. I know you have big goals for the races themselves, but, getting to the pro class, becoming a pro and having those blue backgrounds and everything that comes along with being a pro, I mean, that was a lifelong goal in itself. So talk about, were you nervous going in?
I was a little nervous. Not so much right away. It almost kind of took a while to hit me. Like, it was really, it was more, we got there and it was like, man, this is so cool. Like, this is a really cool event. And it probably didn't hit me until like the first heat, like qualifying. Like, it was so different. It was almost like practice to me again, like I'm so used to having all those laps to spin in practice. So like, and qualifying for me, like, I was just kind of trying to learn it. Like, it wasn't something that I was going out there looking to be the fastest guy on the track. Like, for me, it was like, all right, I've never been to Daytona. Let's use all the time they give me to get as comfy as I can on this track. And I would say probably not until like we lined up for heat 1 until I really probably like got a little nervous, just getting on the gate, being like, all right, like just lining up and looking down and be like, whoa, I've never raced any of these guys before, really,
right.
That was probably the first time I really had any bugs or was any really nervous at all. And like, when I'm nervous, it doesn't bother me too bad. Like, I don't get real jittery or nothing. But I would say, honestly, like, it was probably more different for my parents and family than anything, just so surreal for them more than me. Like, for me, everything's happened so fast, but at the same time, like, for me, it felt like I was waiting for it for so long, where my parents looked at me and they were like, you realize like 5 years ago, you're on like a 65, like you're hardly raced at a shifter.
Literally. Yes.
And they're like, this is so weird to be hearing. For me, I was like, no, I guess I didn't really look at it like that. So
right. Yeah. That's crazy. So I was going to reference that. I was going to ask you, obviously the nerves weren't too apparent because you qualified well, 6th was awesome, but that was or was it 5th? Maybe you qualified 5th, somewhere in there.
I think it was 6th right at the end. I think I got dropped to 6th.
Sure. So whatever it was, the time qualifying thing, you never did that before. Like, that's a whole new thing in itself as well. And it's different than just spinning fast laps, like if you're really trying to put in a fast lap, like time qualifying is just a whole different deal. So you handled that with grace, but then referencing the dudes that you're lining up with for your heat race, and you probably haven't done this in recent years, but I remember being a younger kid and like looking around like, okay, I got that guy covered. Like, I might need to worry about this guy. And when you're lining up for the pro class, like totally different animal, like everybody's gnarly.
Yeah, no, it definitely true. Like, it was kind of like, well, I hope we get a really good start, because this could either go really bad or it could go really good. So right. I was like, I guess we'll just find out. Like, and I mean, it's really helped, kind of, we had talked before, like being in the pro stock class and like getting a ride with Chad all the time. Like, it really helps, I would say, just even with those nerves going up to the gate, being like, I've already rode with these guys. Like, I've dropped the gate with these guys. Like, I kind of had an idea of what to expect. It was just, we're on bigger and faster machines now that, it's going to be totally different at the same time.
Yeah. I wish that we would have, recorded that part as we were talking before we hit record on this part of the conversation here, because, I remember, I was just telling you, I remember lining up for my first pro race and being scared shitless of the guys around me because they were my heroes. Right. So one thing, like, you're kind of, you're worried because you're like, damn, like now I'm racing these guys. These are the fastest guys in the world. And then it's also like, man, I don't want to like get in anybody's way. away or anything like that. So that was a worry in itself. But yeah, I mean, that pro stock class, for you to have lined up against basically everybody at one point last year. So you know that, you don't got to be intimidated by these guys. And then you also find your footing racing those guys on machines that, you're basically riding to their limit. So you're not biting off more than you can chew. I sure wish that the pro stock class would have been around, when I was racing. I feel like that's just a perfect bridge from the top amateur classes like Pro-Am to the pro class, where you're lining up against these guys, but you're on machines where you're able to keep everything pretty much in check. I think that's awesome. And from the beginning of the day there, you looked like a guy who, those nerves weren't too big of a deal for you, and you were totally in control. You were comfortable being out there, and your lack of nerves, or the way it just felt like practice or riding, I mean, that's telling also like where you are mentally, like what your goals are. Hey, I belong out here with these guys. I feel like that's all telling. So the heat race, you finished behind Joel and Chad, not too shabby. So take me through your goals and expectations then, going into the main, maybe not necessarily goals so much, but tell me where you're at mentally. Like, what are your expectations for the main event after the heat?
Yeah, no, I mean, after the heat, that went really well. I just noticed like midway through the heat, like I got a little tight right away, like it was kind of like, holy crap, that like, this is my first pro gate drop, and then, settled in. And that was just the main goal for the main event. Was like, I realized, I was like, all right, like you really got to like relax yourself. Like you can't do that to yourself. And so like, I mean, obviously, like everyone says, like you needed a good start. Like Daytona is tight. And so, really focused on getting a good start. And after that, it was just riding my laps. Like I knew if I went out there and I could just ride my laps, like it would end up coming out. I would end up coming out in a decent spot, because I was like, at the end of the day, if you just stay smooth and on this track, like it was really easy to make a mistake. So I just knew that I had to be smooth and just ride my laps. And I didn't do it maybe to the best that I could have. But that was just the biggest goal, was just to stay safe. And obviously, I mean, wanted to shoot for that top 5, but at the end of the day, it was just to get out of there safe. And get that first pro race out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard that I remember hearing Chad say that last year, that he just wanted to get out of there safe more than anything. That was the number one goal. But man, it was a great race for you. Like you essentially ran inside the top 5 throughout the entire main event. You survived that first corner melee that we've all seen by now, all the footage and the videos and stuff. And you quickly found yourself locked in this gnarly battle with Wesley Wolfe and Brandon Hogue. And, Brandon looked like he was charging for the first few laps there. He actually shot by both of you guys, I believe at one point. He got by you and Wesley, then buried himself in a berm. You and Wesley get back by, and then you ended up gapping him. And from what I could see, you and Wesley were like throwing haymakers at each other is what it looked like. You were locked in this gnarly battle. And I said on social media, and now after listening to you, probably makes a little more sense, but you could have settled for 4th. And you didn't. You gave Wesley all he could handle. It looked like you damn near made the pass for that last podium spot on the last lap. So take me through the race, take me through that battle, and how close did you come to making that move?
Oh yeah, I mean, so actually right away, like Brandon ended up getting around us because me and Wesley got together with each other. I actually made the pass on Wesley like on the 3rd or 4th lap.
I saw that.
And then I made a stupid rookie mistake that I'll laugh about afterwards, and went outside right away. Gave him the chance instantly to just come right back. And I went off the track, and Brandon goes flying by me. Brandon blows Wesley's doors off. Like we totally screwed each other by getting into each other. Okay. And then, Brandon luckily made that mistake and then allowed us to both get by. And I think after that, I think he actually had some issues. I really don't know what happened there. He kind of he was there for a few laps, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like me and Wesley are back at it. And I mean, I ended up passing Wesley again like a couple laps later, and just stayed on the rear brake a little too long and stalled it like the turn after I passed them. I don't know if my adrenaline got so worked up that like I finally got around them, and I don't know, just another like one of those mistakes that you wish you would have never done. Like I finally got around them, and like I was like, yes, like I can finally go and sprint. And the first turn I get around him, I stalled the bike. Luckily, thank God for electric start. Didn't lose too much time, and so then it was kind of like I knew where I was at, and just I was kind of pacing them and just staying there for a few laps, and then all of a sudden I got the board that I was in fourth. Like I knew I was in fifth. Like I was like, all right, like a top five, like we'll get out of here in fifth. Like I was tired. I won't lie. Like I've never had that, you know, all last year. Like I never had, me and Zach had a really good battle at the first round, but it was 7 laps. Like you know, all of a sudden we're 10 laps in and I've been banging bars left and right. And there was no relaxing. Like that was like I said, there was a few rookie mistakes, and that was the biggest one. Was just I really worked myself up, not being used to that contact. Like that was probably the biggest thing I learned, was like you're always playing defense in the pro class. Like you really got to worry about like that guy behind you, and that was something that I didn't really have to do a whole lot of last year. Like last year I got up front and I picked my lines where all of a sudden I'd make a pass, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, I know the outside's faster, I'm going to carry my speed. And then it's like, oh, I got cut off from the inside. That was really dumb. Like, so just little things like that obviously it's going to take a little time to learn. I think I figured a lot out in one race just by getting hammered on a couple times. You get put in your place real fast when you do stupid things like that.
Wesley, too, of all people, Wesley will stick it in there on you.
Oh yeah, and he did, and I mean, I got nothing wrong with that. I mean, it went both ways. He just he was a little more prepared than I was for it, and I knew though he had been tired, and I was getting tired. And when I got the board that I was in fourth, and all of a sudden they let us know there was 2 laps left, I was like, all right, like I knew Wesley is a very aggressive rider, and I really didn't want to be in front of him the whole time, because I was more relaxed behind him, just kind of studying him. And I finally waited till the last lap, and I was like, I knew I could make a run on him coming up to the mechanics area. I just had a little better line coming out of the turn. And it worked. It was just, we collided in the air then after we landed, and, you know, a boat came through the mechanics area and took everybody out. Luckily, saved that one there. And then, you know, just, you know, the heart rate got up, and really tried to make the pass stick in the next turn, and just got a little high on the berm, and the berm caught me there in time qualifying too, and it came back and caught me again in the main. So you know, it was a little upsetting, blowing it right at the end. That's not something that I usually do. I'm usually one of those people that I can make something happen if I really put my mind to it. So I was a little upset about that, but at the same time, looking back on it, I was like, well, you know what? You live and you learn, and I'm definitely okay with a fourth on my first pro race. So I was like, yep, would have been great to be at the podium, but at the same time, it was still a heck of a battle, and I learned a lot just in that entire moto. So with what we got out of there with, for all the mistakes it was still a good day.
For sure. I mean, you're exactly right. You're hitting the nail on the head. There's things that you can't learn or somebody can't teach you other than like being out there and actually experiencing it. So to think of, you know, how young you are, these are your first experiences in the pro class, and you're learning like up front, you know, with the best guys. That's amazing. And I'm glad you were able to touch on that, because, you know, for a person that looks at the lap times or whatever, the lap log, it looks like you're just like you shadowed Wesley. And from watching it, I knew that that's not how it went down. I saw you guys mixing it up, and like I saw, you know, when you got ahead of Wesley, I see him come barreling into some of these corners, and yeah, so I knew that you guys were dicing it up for sure. But like you said, finishing 1 spot off the podium in your very first pro race is a huge deal. Obviously you'll take that, especially at Daytona, where we see all the craziness that happens down there. So obviously you're going to take that. and that's gonna move you up to tier 2 in Digging Deep ATV MX Fantasy, making it a little more difficult for people because obviously you were the money pick there in tier 3, and you were obviously one of the perfect picks for the season opener there. You were a necessary pick of the fantasy league winner, so everyone that had picked you, like myself, was obviously stoked. But yeah, we talked about this on the season preview episode. We knew that you were going to be in the mix for the top 5. We knew that even going back to last year, if you would have got in there. We knew that you were going to be consistent like you always are. We knew you were going to be strong, especially late in these motos, kind of like you showed. But I would say that your pure speed was one of the most impressive aspects of the entire day for me, maybe of any rider, any topic. Your speed in your very first pro race was a huge takeaway for me.
Wow, I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I think last year, just like being in that pro stock class, I really had to push, and you really learned like how to make that bike go as fast as you could possibly make it go. And I think it really translated well for me to the race machine, just because like I went out there and there was a couple races where all of a sudden I came off the track and I was like, Dad, guess what I learned? Like I was hitting this berm and all of a sudden I watched like Thomas or Chad, whoever was in front of me, they moved over 6 inches and kept the bike off the berm and all that. And all of a sudden they're 3 bike lengths ahead of me. And I'm like, who would have thought? Like, unless I was there to see it, I wouldn't have learned it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say just over the off season, that was like the biggest thing, was just smoothing out and like really learning, like to pick good lines, like, and just study. Like, obviously I'm blessed and I get to ride with Chad all the time. And, I didn't get to ride with him as much this year. He had a little one and, he's a very busy guy. But when we did, it was just riding with him and really studying, how he makes that bike go so fast. And when it comes to, I think, the top of the pro class, sometimes what separates is just, what lines you pick. Like, everyone can go so fast that you really need to be very precise how you execute and do things. And that was a big thing this off season, was just figuring out, how not to scrub that speed in certain spots and just how to push myself to get to that next level. And there's still a lot of work to be done there. But I definitely would say, like, just riding with those faster guys, anytime you can ride with anyone faster, you push yourself and eventually, I think after pushing for so long, it starts to become natural.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So with a 4th at the opener, you set the bar pretty high for yourself going forward, pal. But you look the part of a guy who's going to be there every weekend in the top 5 logging laps. Like we talked about, I mean, your consistency and obviously what you just showed us, you look like one of those guys. You're going to be in the mix every weekend. And I can't wait to see how this is going to play out. The future is obviously so bright for you. Okay. So we got a month until 3 Palms. What are your plans between now and then?
I've actually, I'm picking up doing some of the GNCCs.
Where did that come from? Where did that come from?
Just, tried a few last year and I just liked it. Like, it was just, it's a change. I love motocross and it's still by far my favorite. I mean, if there was a GNCC or a motocross race, you'd catch me at that motocross race 10 times out of 10.
Yep.
But, it's just kind of like a refresh. Like, it's something different, and like it's a different, just a different like training. Like, I just like how it makes you ride, and just there's so many things that you do different, but yet at the same time it overlaps so well. Like after riding for 2 hours, like our 20-minute pro race seems so short all of a sudden.
Right.
And I really liked that about it.
Okay.
So the plans to do, I'm going to try and make the ones I can. I'm not trying to do them all or by any means, but when I can, we're going there to do the best I can and just learn it and try and just become a better rider all around everywhere. Just smooth out and do the best I can in both GNCC and MX. And I feel like it's helped me so far. Just even with learning to relax, like, you can't go wide open for 2 hours through the woods. like you really got to learn to relax and smooth out and pick good lines. And I think it's helped me just as much on the motocross side doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask where the GNCC thing came from, because I didn't remember. I mean, we live like right next door to each other, so I never remembered you being a GNCC guy when you were younger. So I wondered where that came from.
No, I literally had only done 2 before 3 in my entire lifetime. And this year, I over the winter, I decided I had an extra like frame laying around in some parts and pieces, and I was like, let's build a bike and, you know, like, let's try and do some of them this year. And the first one went really good, you know? And so from now on, I'm just going to try and do the ones I can. And then, obviously stay riding the motocross as well. I'm going to come home, you know, I've been down here in Florida for 2.5 months and kind of ready to get home, and just, I'm going to take a little break here this week, you know, come home and, catch up on some school. Obviously I still have to do our daily school where most other of our pro guys don't have to. So,
Right.
you know, still got to get that diploma and graduate. So, have to come home and, you know, catch up on a little bit of that after being at Daytona this week. Obviously, I won't lie, I'm a little behind, so I need to get home and take some time and get caught up there. And then I'm going to head down to Texas a couple of weeks early and just get back to riding and just staying in shape and doing my usual.
Awesome, man. Well, and you won the GNCC opener in your class, right?
Third in the Pro-Am.
Oh, okay. So, okay. So you were on the podium. I knew it was notable. I knew it was good. I knew you were up on the box.
Yeah. No, I ended up 3rd overall and then 18th overall on the day. So, definitely a different world, and some fast guys there too. So, excited to see, you know, hopefully get back on the box and improve from there.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, we're going to get you out of here on that note. Obviously, good luck this weekend. We'll obviously see you and talk to you as we get closer to Texas here. And you know, I'm sure that we're going to talk to you again here real soon on Digging Deep. Obviously, with how awesome of a kid you are, with how great of a rider you are, and wearing the legendary number 2 doesn't hurt either. You're making a lot of fans out there, so we're proud of you. Obviously, we're proud as always to talk to you here on Digging Deep, and you know, stoked to talk to you about an awesome day at the races, and obviously just want to congratulate you again on a phenomenal debut. It was a day you'll never forget, a day I'll probably never forget. It was so crazy. And as a Wisconsin guy, you know, again, you living just down the road from us, basically, like, I feel like I take some ownership. Like when I see people like becoming fans of Max Lindquist, I'm like, yeah, but he was mine first.
No, and I appreciate it. And thank you very much, Cody. And I kind of just wanted to, before we get out of here, just say, you know, you touched on the number 2, and it was a really special day to be able to bring that back to the track. You know, Jeremiah and that family we've gotten pretty close to, and just like to say big thanks to him again. And you know, he could have let anyone wear it, and you know, he let me, and I'm very blessed and grateful for that opportunity. And it was nice to be able to come back out, and I really would have liked to be on the podium, but at the same time, you know, we got a 4th, and I was pretty happy with that, and I would definitely like to do that number justice and hopefully get it back up there on the box soon. So that's the goal, and it'll definitely be a fun time to hopefully try and make it happen. And yeah, I mean, just a big thanks to Jeremiah and that whole family, because it's been a heck of a year, and it's been really cool to get to represent that number.
Yeah, you're doing the number 2 very proud. Like you said, and I've saw some other people kind of making these references, but there's shades of the, you know, the Jeremiah YFZ year. When I see the blue number 2 on the blue quad, it takes me right back to like the old Huevos videos.
I've been told that a few times now. That's funny. I think Gloop is the one that always brings that up.
Is it? Okay. Yep. I love it. I love it. And I told you already, number 2 is my favorite number in all sports. It looks so good. So yeah, you're doing it proud for sure. So congrats again on a phenomenal race, pal. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. I appreciate it, Cody. Thank you very much.
That's Max Lindquist, brought to you by Bike Strikes and Quads LLC and www.btqllc.com. Thanks again, pal. Great job. What an episode. Major thanks to tonight's guests, 5-time Daytona winner Chad Wienen, podium finisher Nick Gennusa, Max Lindquist, Gloop Mahey of RipitupFilms, Casey Greek of Impact Solutions, Logan Tremellen of the Tremellen Media House, and Mr. Joel Hetrick. Thanks to producer Dallas Jansen, my brother. Thanks to Brooke. Thanks to AMA official Harv Whipple. Thanks to our sponsors, CST Tires, shop.csttires.com. Yamaha thanks to Blue Crew, Valvoline, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Nemura Technologies, Bronco ATV and UTV Components, Launderville Steel Enterprises and Concrete Supply, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, Gripped Gloves, Factory 43, Bike Strikes and Quads LLC, and Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. Support the brands that support our show, and don't forget to use those codes to save. Find it all on our website, and be sure to click that Rocky Mountain ATV MC banner for all your off-season needs and to help us out. And most of all, thanks to you guys for listening. Our show merchandise, including Digging Deep shirts and hoodies, our new Quad Guys Get Hot Chicks shirts and hoodies, National Championship merch, and more are all available at shop.diggingdeepatvmx.com. If you're looking for another easy way to help us out, visit our website and click the Buy Me a Coffee button. This allows you to set up a one-time or monthly contribution to help us out. You can call our voicemail line anytime, 920-569-3519, and follow the show on social media, Digging Deep ATVMX Podcast, and myself, Cody Jansen, for additional content and Digging Deep ATVMX fantasy info as we roll into the season here. Remember, you can still sign up at atvfantasy.com today. I can promise you don't want to miss this. It's so much fun. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Wherever you find podcasts, you'll find the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. All episodes, additional podcast providers, sponsor links, and discount codes, our new show merchandise, fantasy info, and more can all be found on our website, diggingdeepatvmx.com. So check that out today. Again, go to atvfantasy.com to sign up for Digging Deep ATVMX Fantasy, the first ever ATV Motocross Fantasy League. You will not regret it. Be a friend, tell a friend. Please download, subscribe, rate, review, and share. And with that, for Joel Hetrick, Chad Wienen, Nick Gennusa, Max Lindquist, Gloop Mahey, Casey Greek, Logan Tremellen, Brooke Catherine, Dallas Jansen, and I'm your host, Cody Jansen. Thanks for listening to the #1 podcast in ATV racing, 2 million downloads and counting. Until next time, thanks for joining us in Digging Deep with the Stars of ATV Motocross. Things are crashing and burning here at the Digging Deep podcast, much like the Titanic.
Those guys were hauling ass, for real.
I remember watching Doug Gus, I don't know who it was, Steel City, running the same times Friday afternoon as James Stewart was on Sunday back then. It was mental. I've never seen quads go that fast.
Quadlers are freaking gnarly.
If you're planning to get lucky this St. Patrick's Day, get prepared with Manscaped. Manscaped is the global leader in below-the-waist grooming and an official sponsor of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast. To ensure you have the best tools for your family jewels, visit manscaped.com and use discount code DiggingDeep20 for 20% off and free international shipping. Manscaped is here to provide you with the best tools for your grooming experience, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. The Lawnmower 3.0 electric trimmer is the best hygiene tool for the modern man. Ceramic blade, advanced skin-safe technology, waterproof capabilities, it's simply the best. And Manscaped's Performance Package is the best buy of 2021. The Performance Package comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Performance boxer briefs, a travel bag, deodorant, and soothing aloe toner. If you're listening, you know good tools are key. So get the best tools for the job today. Get 20% off and free shipping with code DiggingDeep20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using code DiggingDeep20.